Chapter 34:15. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation forcing a duck onto a perch. Young master, please move. Turtle ancestor invites you? As soon as this sentence was spoken, there was an uproar in the surroundings. The information revealed was too much and too shocking. First of all, the Nether Turtle clan indeed had a living fossil that had a longer lifespan than the clan leader. That was definitely a supreme existence whose cultivation was far beyond the 15th realm, the universe realm. This was because Ming Tsong, who claimed to be the clan leader of the Nether Turtle clan, clearly revealed a terrifying aura when he spoke from afar. He was definitely a terrifying existence whose cultivation was beyond the universe realm. Even the clan leader was a terrifying existence beyond the universe realm. Then, how could the person he called Turtle Ancestor be weak? Even Long Ziwen, Zhan too, and the ancestor without eyebrows couldn't help but tremble when they thought about it. They were too frightened. In addition, it was related to this young master of the Nether clan who claimed to be Huan Xing. Previously, when Yin Qi called him the young master of the Nether clan, although the starry sky powerhouses of the various major forces did not have much doubt, there were not many who really took this matter to heart. But at this moment, when the clan leader of the Nether Turtle clan said that the turtle ancestor invited him, all the powerhouses suddenly realized how shocking the identity of the Nether clan's young master was. If not, why would the clan leader of the Nether Turtle clan specially invite him? The clan leader of the Nether Turtle clan had a long lifespan, and his clan leader was at least in existence from millions of years ago. Although he was not from the Antiquity Age at most, he was only slightly related to the Antiquity Age. But as an old monster who had lived for so long, one could imagine how high his vision was. But even so, the clan leader of the Nether Turtle clan still did not hesitate to interrupt his cultivation and take the initiative to invite him after knowing the identity of the young master of the Nether clan. This clearly showed that he was treating the young master of the Nether clan as an existence of the same level. In fact, the latter did have this qualification. Although he was the only one who had awakened now, when the Nether Emperor sealed him back then, he left behind a few protectors of the Nether clan. They were all supreme existences beyond the 15th realm. Once they appeared, the young master of the Nether clan would definitely be heaven-defying, and he would be able to walk the 3 realms of the universe. No wonder even the turtle ancestor of the Nether Turtle clan looked at him in such a different light. He was indeed qualified. Realizing this, even Long Ziwen Zhan too, and the ancestor without eyebrows looked at the 9 dragons' azure phoenix chariot with burning eyes. This was a great god. If they had a good relationship with him, there would definitely be benefits in the future. Previously, they had thought that this netherworld young master was too arrogant and domineering when he traveled in such a flashy azure Luan carriage. But now, they felt that everything was reasonable. How could such an existence not have some extravagance? At this moment, Yin Qi, who was standing beside the 9 dragons' azure phoenix chariot, was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. He had a smug expression on his face. Beside him, Yin Ba and Yin Jiao were also incomparably envious. They felt that they were a step slower and had their limelight stolen by Yin Qi. This would definitely leave a much better impression in the elder ancestor's heart. In fact, Yi Xian wanted nothing more than to strangle Yin Qi to death on the spot. What kind of existence was the Nether Turtle ancestor? He was definitely a supreme expert who surpassed the 15th realm, the universe realm. Yi Xian didn't have the confidence to face such a supreme existence. Once his identity was exposed, he might immediately die on the spot. Unfortunately, it was too late to say anything now. The Nether Turtle clan's patriarch had already spoken. The Nether Turtle clan's patriarch who was at the 15th realm of the universe realm was waiting in front. Moreover, the experts in the surrounding void were also looking at the 9 dragons' azure phoenix chariot anxiously. If Yi Xian retreated now, not only would everything go down the drain, but the Nether Turtle clan's patriarch in the void ahead might not let him go. It seemed that he had to meet the Nether Turtle ancestor no matter what. Sighing inwardly, Yi Xian immediately stepped onto the 9 dragons' azure phoenix chariot. He glared fiercely at Yin Qi, Yin Ba, and Yin Jiao and reprimanded, "You 3 old bastards, look after my chariot. I'll be right back." It wasn't that he didn't want to ride the 9 dragons' azure phoenix chariot over, but the other party was the Nether Turtle clan's patriarch. Yi Xian didn't dare to act recklessly. At this moment, as Yi Xian stepped out of the 9 dragons' azure phoenix chariot, an uproar instantly sounded in the surrounding void. Heavens! Is this the netherworld young master? He's so young. Nonsense, He was sealed by the Netherworld Great Emperor when he was young. Until now, he has returned. It's as if millions of years have not passed. Naturally, he's still young. Although he has triangular eyes, he's still quite handsome. Don't be love-struck. This is the Netherworld clan's young master. Are you worthy? It's none of your business. I just like him. What can you do? At the same time, three voices that Yi Xian was very familiar with came from the three large fortresses of the Shenyuan family, the Duanmu family, and the Zhao family. Those eyes are getting more and more familiar. That's right, they're so sneaky. They're obviously not good people. They're so similar to that guy. They can't be twins, right? It feels like their temperaments are about the same. What a familiar wretchedness. It's coming straight at me. Although these three girls didn't mention names, and their voices were mixed in with the tide of exclamations, they really didn't attract too much attention. But Yi Xian had a guilty conscience and clearly heard them. At that moment, he subconsciously shrank his neck and complained bitterly in his heart. These three girls are really not ordinary sharp. They can still recognize me in this state. Was I born in the year of the dog in my previous life? Young master, please. It was also at this moment that Yi Xian had already appeared, and in order to show his respect, he didn't directly carry the flashy Nine Dragons Azure Luan carriage forward. The attitude of the Dark Turtle Clan elder, who was waiting in the air in front of him, was clearly much more polite. When he spoke, a small hill had already appeared on the back of the huge turtle, and a layer of gray energy light enveloped it. The meaning was obvious. It was to let Yi Xian enter the light barrier. Cough cough. Yi Xian coughed awkwardly. The other party was a universe realm expert of the 15th Great Realm, and he was at the late stage of the universe realm. Wouldn't standing on the other party's back make him a mount? It really felt a little like his heart was beating wildly. But he was now the Netherworld clan's young master. It would be too embarrassing if he was afraid of this little show of extravagance. Thinking like this, Yi Xian secretly clenched his teeth. His figure flashed, and he landed on the back of the Netherworld Turtle Clan elder. He entered the gray light barrier that was like an enormous palace. Young master, sit tight. In the next moment, the Dark Turtle elder's muffled voice sounded again. Then, Yi Xian felt the whole world shake violently. Chapter 34:16. Translator, Transin Editor. Transin Big Bastard is still alive. The Dark Turtle elder's speed was simply too fast. Even though Yi Xian was inside the gray energy shield on the elder's back, he was still dazzled and could not see the elder's trajectory at all. He only felt that the stars on both sides were brushing past him, and endless clouds and mist were drifting endlessly. His entire mind was in a daze. In the end, he simply closed his eyes. Only in this way would that kind of dizziness not be so intense. After an unknown period of time, Yi Xian felt his body suddenly become sluggish. The Dark Turtle elder, who was like a small meteor under his feet, finally came to a stop. Had he arrived at the end of the road? Yi Xian subconsciously opened his eyes, only to find that the Dark Turtle elder under his feet had disappeared. At this moment, he was standing on a huge planet. This planet was simply too big. Standing on the surface of the planet, even with Yi Xian's cultivation level of level 3 Grotto Heaven, he could not see the end of the planet. If it were not for the fact that he could see the stars in the void when he looked up, he would have thought that he had come to a secret realm that was isolated from the second universe. Just as he was feeling puzzled and was about to call out to the Dark Turtle elder who had brought him here, an ancient voice that seemed to have traveled across the river of time suddenly sounded in his ears. I didn't expect that Netherworld young master would be so interested in my ancestors' void dimension technique. Moreover, you have cultivated to the peak of the 7th level and have already stepped into the level 1 black hole realm. It is said that during the late antiquity era, Netherworld young master once rolled and peed on my ancestor's back. Could it be that you obtained the void dimension technique from my ancestor at that time? Hearing these words, Yi Xian was stunned. Cold sweat dripped down his back. This should be the voice of the Dark Turtle elder. As expected of a terrifying existence who had surpassed the 15th level of cultivation, the universe realm. Yi Xian currently had a dark body, but the elder could see through his cultivation at a glance. Not only did he know that Yi Xian cultivated the void dimension technique, but he also clearly saw that Yi Xian had only cultivated to the peak of the 7th level and had stopped at the level 1 black hole realm. This made Yi Xian feel as if he had been completely seen through by the elder, as if there were no more secrets. Of course it was just a feeling, and it was impossible for it to be real. At the very least, it was impossible for the nether turtle ancestor to see through the headless infant corpse. No matter how heaven-defying and powerful the nether turtle ancestor was, how could it be compared to the headless infant corpse? It should be noted that even the void tortoise, the bloodline ancestor of this clan, could only cower in front of the headless infant corpse. It did not even dare to breathe loudly. However, the other party's words were clearly probing and seemed to have given rise to some suspicions. Although Yi Xian felt awkward, he could only brace himself and endure. Fortunately, he was certain that the other party had not seen through all of his secrets, so he still had some confidence. He straightened his neck and forced himself to say, "Isn't that so? Although I mainly cultivate the nether body, Uncle Void Tortoise is also the supreme master of the remote antiquity. His Dongshu skill is also very mysterious. Back then, I pestered him to teach me a few levels of the skill. I didn't expect that hundreds of millions of years have passed since we parted ways. I want to continue cultivating, but there is no other way. Fellow Taoist turtle ancestor, your clan is the descendant of the Void Giant Turtle. Does your clan have the Void Dimension technique after the 7th level? Was it really taught by the Void ancestor himself? You little slippery fellow. You actually still dare to joke with this ancestor at a time like this? Must I expose you? I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed if you want to obtain the Void Dimension skill beyond the 7th level. That's because the tortoise shell in your hand is actually a lost clan artifact. The Void Dimension skill recorded on it is only up to the first 7 levels. If you want to obtain the Void Dimension skill beyond the 7th level, you'll have to help my clan rescue the Void Dimension ancestor. Ha! That bastard is still alive? Yi Xian instantly lost his composure when he heard the other party mention the Void Tortoise. He didn't even think about it as he blurted it out. Only after that did he feel vexed. This was clearly a lie, and it was no different from confessing without a fight. Ha ha ha. Little guy, you're not pretending anymore? The nether turtle ancestor was overjoyed and actually chuckled softly. The unbelievably vast star beneath his feet was shaken by his laughter and slightly rose and fell, causing Yi Xian to roll his eyes. He spread his hands and said casually, "So that's what happened. That tortoise shell is the clan artifact of your Void Tortoise clan, so I'm naturally familiar with its aura. I left it in my body. You're a supreme existence that surpasses the universe, so you can more or less sense a trace of its aura. Naturally, you'll be able to see through my identity." In the end, Yi Xian couldn't help but feel annoyed. He shook his head and sighed. Mistake. What a huge mistake. After all, although his identity was exposed, the Void Tortoise ancestor didn't seem to have any ill intentions. It seemed that he had something to ask of him. Yi Xian was confident in his heart, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Since you don't want to pretend anymore, let me guess your identity. First of all, your identity as a human cultivator is undeniable. Although this nether body is indeed pure, this old turtle can still clearly distinguish the aura of a human cultivator. There aren't many young geniuses in the human race recently. The 4 legendary heavens prides probably don't have a foundation like yours. So, it seems that there are only the 3 legendary monstrous geniuses to choose from. Little friend, are you Prince Xian, the invincible war god, or young Master Linghu? The 3 legendary monstrous geniuses? Yi Xian raised his hand and rubbed his nose. He said in a muffled voice, even Prince Xian is included? If that's the case. All of them. These words were a little strange. If one suddenly heard it, they might not be able to react in time. However, the Void Tortoise ancestor obviously understood. The vast ground under its feet rose and fell again, and its hearty laughter rang out. Ha ha ha, Prince Xian, the invincible war god, young Master Linghu. All of them are the same person. If this matter were to spread, I'm afraid the 3 universes would be completely turned upside down. Little friend, you're really amazing. The divination I made back then was right. I let that girl bring half of the ancient tortoise shell out of the Void Tortoise Sea, and it actually attracted the Son of Destiny. My clan's ancestor is saved. The girl he was talking about was obviously the purplish warbler. Yi Xian suddenly understood. So, all of this was planned. However, what the hell was this divination? It sounded familiar. Then, Yi Xian remembered the heaven measuring technique of the old devil mosquito butcher. That old devil seemed to have calculated something with the heaven measuring technique, So he did his best to arrange himself and finally succeeded in connecting with him. Tui, coming into contact with him. Yi Xian immediately asked this question. Chapter 34:17. Translator, Transin Editor. Transin, the wastelands of the outer regions, that old geezer mosquito butcher you speak of has some ties with my clan. There are some things that will have to be settled in the future. At the mention of the heaven measuring technique and old ghost mosquito butcher, the nether turtle ancestor's tone instantly changed slightly, and it faintly revealed a wisp of monstrous resentment. However, he wasn't willing to speak about it and merely mentioned it briefly before falling silent. Yi Xian's curiosity was immediately piqued. Old ghost mosquito butcher was indeed a scourge. Judging from the deep resentment in the nether turtle patriarch's voice when he mentioned him, it was clear that he had been harmed by him in the past. As a result, Yi Xian felt that old devil mosquito butcher's mysteriousness seemed to have increased by a large margin in an instant. The strength that the old fellow had displayed in the Death Star region was that of a universe almighty at the 15th level. Now, it seemed like he had held back at that time. His true strength definitely surpassed that of a universe almighty at the 15th level. Otherwise, how could he have the qualifications to harm the nether turtle ancestor? Before this, Yi Xian had thought that the most mysterious person in his mind was the Mad Mosquito King. But now, it seemed that the Mad Mosquito King's throne was going to be lost. Old Devil Mosquito Butcher was originally a demon from the first universe. Later, when he came to the third universe of the human race, he had an old grudge with Xianxia, the palace master of the 6th palace of the 10 ultimates in the cultivation camp. Now that Yi Xian had arrived in the second universe, the moment he mentioned old Devil Mosquito Butcher, even the ancestor of the Nether Tortoise clan held a deep grudge against him. This was clearly a sign that he had wreaked havoc on all 3 universes. The throne of the number 1 mysterious figure would most likely belong to this old man. However, now was not the time to delve into the matter of old ghost mosquito butcher. Yi Xian was most concerned about the news of the giant void tortoise. Based on the words of the Nether Turtle's ancestor earlier, Xianxia was already able to confirm that even in the Nether Turtle clan, there was merely the first 7 levels of the ancient void dimension technique. Once one arrived at the 8th level, the black hole realm, one would be unable to continue cultivating. Although this news was disappointing, the patriarch of the Abyssal Turtle clan had also given them a glimmer of hope. They seemed to know the whereabouts of the giant void tortoise, and they wanted to ask Yi Xian for help to rescue it. If this was a success, then the rest of the Dongshu ancient chant wouldn't be a problem. Moreover, for the headless infant corpse, this was definitely great news. The void tortoise was one of the primordial supreme beings on the same side as the headless infant corpse. It was a comrade of the primordial Yuxia, the golden divine dragon, and the netherworld emperor. This was a true primordial supreme. Even if he was seriously injured, he would still be an invincible existence in the present age. With him as a backer, Yi Xian would definitely be able to do whatever he wanted in the 3 great planes of the universe. That was much more useful than being the young master of the netherworld. Behind him stood a living supreme of the primordial era. Therefore, although he realized that it wouldn't be easy to save the void tortoise, Yi Xian had no intention of considering it at all. On one hand, the benefits were too great. On the other hand, he really did need the Dongshu ancient chant. Of course, the most important thing was that the void tortoise was his own turtle. For the sake of the headless infant corpse, if there was even the slightest chance of success, he would save it. Patriarch Turtle, what we are going to discuss now is of great importance. It concerns the life and death of a supreme of the primordial era. Naturally, we can't treat this like a child's play. Feeling the responsibility on his shoulders, Yi Xian puffed up his chest. In his opinion, rescuing a supreme of the primordial era wasn't something that just anyone would have the opportunity to do. However, he was obviously a key figure, so he felt a strong sense of existence. His tone couldn't help but become more proactive. So, in the face of such an important matter, shouldn't we talk about the secret recipe face to face? It doesn't feel right to talk through the void like this, does it? That does make some sense. But haven't you noticed that you're standing on top of the old turtle's head? We've been discussing face to face all this time. Before the abyssal turtle ancestor could finish speaking, Yi Xian felt the ground beneath his feet tremble violently, as if a tsunami had occurred. The entire vast and boundless land quickly surged up, and at the end of the horizon, an arc slowly appeared around him. Faintly, an incomparably enormous turtle head appeared from beneath his feet. F***CK. What a big tortoise head. So this entire continent is your tortoise skull. Then where is your tortoise shell? Isn't it as big as a star field? Yi Xian finally understood the meaning of the patriarch turtle's words. They had indeed been discussing face-to-face all this time. Not only had they been discussing face-to-face, but Yi Xian was standing on top of the patriarch turtle's head. This world isn't the second universe of the outside world. It's the ancestral land of my Dark Turtle clan, the Dark Turtle Mystic Realm. There's only one void passage that connects to the outside world, and there's a universe realm Dark Turtle clan elder guarding that place. Outsiders can't enter at all. So what's wrong with me showing my true form? It's not to the point of shocking the world. When he spoke up to here, the Nether Turtle's ancestor paused abruptly, and then he changed the topic. Even though the ancient void insight technique recorded on the ancient tortoise shell of my Nether Turtle clan can be seen by everyone, if one wants to truly cultivate it, then one must see the scenes of the inheritance left behind on the ancient tortoise shell. This isn't something that just anyone can accomplish, and only the chosen one of this old turtle's divination can accomplish this. Since you've already cultivated the ancient void dimension technique to the peak of the 7th level, it means that you've seen the inheritance scenes in the ancient turtle shell and seen the void dimension ancestor's true form in the scenes. That's a true void dimension turtle. Every single one of its scales is the size of an entire region, whereas I, the old turtle, have a head that's like a star at most, and my entire body is only the size of a palm of space. So, why would it make you so surprised? When he spoke up to here, Yi Xian completely understood, and he rolled his eyes before he continued. No wonder your Dark Turtle clan was so generous and actually intentionally left the ancient turtle shell behind. After all, an ordinary person wouldn't be able to cultivate it even if they obtained it, whereas, only the person that can cultivate it would be the person you're looking for. Moreover, after cultivating it to the peak of the 7th level, that person would definitely come to the Sea of Nether Turtles to search for the next level of the technique. Fuck! What a great scheme! This young master is extremely displeased right now. It feels like I was schemed against and even died. It's too displeasing. Little fellow, you're trying to play tricks again. Before Yi Xian could finish speaking, the Nether Turtle's voice resounded once more, and it carried a firm tone as it continued. Even though this old turtle doesn't understand exactly what's going on, based on the divination, it isn't just you who's helping my Nether Turtle clan. From a certain perspective, it's similarly my Nether Turtle clan that's helping you. So don't give me these empty tricks. This old turtle is certain that you'll definitely be willing to do this. Moreover, the desolate ruins in the Outer Realm originally contained boundless fortune, and it's a rare opportunity for you. Are you really willing to miss this opportunity? The Desolate Ruins in the Outer Realm? Chapter 34:18. Translator, Transin Editor. Transin Ive seen this demonic blade before. Even this old turtle doesn't know where the so-called barren ruins is. The vast earth beneath his feet trembled slightly. This was caused by the Nether Turtle ancestor shaking his huge head. Yi Xian's expression gradually turned solemn. He did not pay attention to this and only heard the Nether Turtle ancestor's voice. This old turtle only knows that it's a dilapidated void. It's definitely not in the 3 universe planes. It should be floating in some mysterious unknown universe. Tens of thousands of years ago, the void turtle ancestor of my Nether Turtle clan once sent back a frame of images imprinted with his divine sense. This old turtle received it and has been keeping it ever since. Along with that frame of images imprinted with his divine sense were only a few words. They are the bloodline ancestral words of my Nether Turtle clan. The general idea is that this imprinted image is the barren ruins. If we want to welcome the return of the void ancestor, we can only use the heavenly divination technique to detect the child of destiny. Only then can we succeed. This is the origin of the heavenly divination technique that this old turtle has mastered. It originally belonged to the void ancestor. At this point, Yi Xian basically understood the whole story. Obviously, the void turtle ancestor was indeed still alive and had sent a message tens of thousands of years ago. It was similar to a cry for help and passed down the void turtle clan's bloodline innate heavenly divination technique to the Nether Turtle ancestor to use this technique to divine the heavenly divination technique. After that, the void turtle clan deliberately lost the ancient turtle shell, which was obtained by Yi Xian and led him to the Nether Turtle Sea today. The child of destiny is you. This is beyond doubt. Therefore, you are qualified to see the frame of images sent back by the void ancestor. However, this old turtle can't give you any clues. You have to find them yourself. As he spoke, a bright light suddenly burst out from the horizon. A vast image of the void suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. This mysterious void seemed to be an exiled universe plane, and it exuded an extremely dense and ancient aura. Spatial rifts could simply be seen everywhere here. Spatial turbulence that carried a terrifying aura of destruction frequently whistled out from them, and some had even transformed into black holes that devoured everything. Although there were stars and galaxies in this picture, without exception, they were all badly damaged. The countless stars in the vast galaxy were almost all intertwined, and some had even completely collapsed, floating in this dark and silent mysterious void. Yi Xian couldn't help but be shocked when he saw the dilapidated ancient space in front of him. Everything was too familiar, and it was exactly the same as what he'd seen in the inheritance of the divine ability Heavenfall Bow. Obviously, it was the location of the final battle of that peerless battle that occurred countless years ago during the Primordial Era. To be more precise, it was a corner of the void battleground of the Primordial Era. These so-called ruins should be a part of the ancient starry sky in the remote antiquity era. They had the same origin as the remote antiquity cage that was connected to the forbidden area of the Devil Emperor Star. Furthermore, they were separated and banished as well. The only difference was that the damaged void in the Devil Emperor Star area of the first universe was not only a cage, but also a burial ground, which emitted an endless aura of death, making people desperate. Although the starry sky here was also dim, and there wasn't even a single shining star, one could sense countless auras of life. Although they were obscure and ethereal, they were extremely powerful. Most of the life auras were emitted from the relatively large stars in this desolate ancient galaxy that had been exiled. In the depths of the cores of these stars, there were obviously extremely powerful creatures hibernating. In addition, there were also some auras vaguely detectable in the large number of spatial rifts all over the dilapidated void. Although they were much fewer in number, they were more terrifying and powerful, without exception. The existences hibernating in these spatial rifts were obviously supreme creatures of the primordial era at the same level as the divine golden dragon and the primordial Wuxia. In one of the spatial rifts, Yi Xian saw a terrifying giant tortoise that was as large as a small star area. It was just floating there silently, and no one knew how many years it had been dormant. Although the turbulence in the spatial rifts was surging and eroding, the giant tortoise's dim body was not damaged at all. It had never been shaken. Moreover, on the giant tortoise's back, which was as vast as a terrifying continent, there was a terrifying black devil blade. The blade was tens of thousands of miles long, and a small part of it had pierced into the tortoise's back. It was extremely sharp. Blood-green markings appeared on the body of the devil's saber, and it was extremely evil and filthy. It emanated a sort of evil aura that shook the soul. At the instant one glanced at it, it actually caused one to have the misconception that a strand of brutal and monstrous invisible devil flames was surging and surging towards them. Moreover, the exposed half of this terrifying devil blade was covered with ferocious gaps, silently telling how tragic the battle it had been through in the past was. Although this demonic blade's might was similarly dim and not as ferocious as before, the faint aura it emitted was no different from the demonic blade formed by Tuoba Linfeng's bloodline ability, Demonic Flame Space Flash/. If one had to point out a difference, it would be that this black devil blade that was inserted vertically into the giant tortoise's back was real. When Tuoba Linfeng was fighting with Yi Xian, the weak light that shot out from between his eyebrows with a wave of his hand expanded in the wind. In less than half a breath, the demonic mountain saber that it transformed into was illusory. The devil blade that Tuoba Linfeng used at that time was actually condensed from an incomplete ability called Devil Flame Space Flash/. Once it was used, the corpse energy in the body would instantly condense and take form. Its power was terrifying and evil, and it could even absorb the opponent's vitality, blood, and primordial spirit. It could be called a secret technique of the corpse Tao. At that time, the blood-green magic saber circling above Tuoba Lin's head caused Yi Xian to feel a sense of trepidation. It even caused him to suspect that in the primordial era countless years ago, the primordial era creature that left behind that bloodline ability really had a real magic saber in his hands. At that time, the energy devil blade that was condensed from the corpse energy was already so terrifying. Even Yi Xian's quasi-starry sky treasure weapon, the withered demon blood blade, was slightly inferior. If this ominous devil blade really had a real body, its devil might was simply unimaginable. This was Yi Xian's sigh in his heart at that time. He didn't expect that everything would be confirmed now. In the desolate era, there was indeed such a real supreme devil blade. It was unknown which enemy camp's powerhouse was in possession of it, but it must have been a desolate era supreme existence. Otherwise, How could it hurt the giant tortoise? Until now, this supreme devil blade was still stuck on the giant tortoise's back. This must have been a scene that appeared hundreds of millions of years ago in the desolate era, and continued to exist until today. Just thinking about it made people shudder. Chapter 34:19. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. It was him. I don't know about this either. The Nether Turtle Patriarch's voice rang out again. Although I have lived for countless years, when I was born, it was close to the present era. I can't even be considered as an ancient creature, let alone the desolate antiquity era. Everything about that majestic era is just a legend to me. I've never seen it with my own eyes. However, since you've seen this supreme demonic blade from the desolate antiquity era, there might be some kind of connection between them. Perhaps the clues related to it are the key to saving the Void Ancestor. Why don't you know anything? Yi Xian was stunned for a moment, then he rolled his eyes. You can't be thinking of relying on me to save the bastard, can you? That's really fun. You won't stop until I'm dead. You're the chosen one. Who else can I rely on if not you? The Nether Turtle Ancestor did not feel embarrassed at Yi Xian's complaint at all. Instead, he said matter-of-factly, believe in the guidance of the divination technique. This is one of the Void Ancestor's two great bloodline abilities. It can steal the secrets of heaven. Now that I speak of it, my Nether Turtle clan paid an enormous price when we utilized this heaven-defying divine ability to calculate the method to find the heaven's chosen child. During these 10,000 years, the Nether Turtle clan has become old and dispirited, and it's all because I, this old turtle, extracted the vitality of all my clansmen to conceal myself from the detection of the workings of the heavens and cause the calamity to descend. This time, although Old Turtle can't give you too much help, I can help you once again with the guidance of the heavenly divination. However, after this, my Nether Turtle clan will have to seal itself off. Otherwise, if I use the divination technique twice in a row, I will be detected by heaven's secret since I don't have the supreme cultivation of the Void Ancestor. At that time, a calamity will befall our clan. The Nether Turtle clan won't be able to protect itself. Detection of heaven's secrets? Yi Xian furrowed his brows. He suddenly recalled the heavenly tribulation he had attracted back in Triumph City in the Death Star field when he had used the genetic evolution fluid to break through to the 8th realm. At the same time, he had also evolved the fallen sky bow's supernatural power and the demonic dragon's bloodline in his body. At that time, there was a large expanse of cyan thunderclouds rolling in the sky, pouring down from a void crack that appeared in the void. These were not the key points. The key was that Yi Xian clearly saw a green heavenly eye in the depths of the void crack where the green thundercloud came from. He suspected that it was the incarnation of the will of the heavenly Tao in the untainted land. In the end, Yi Xian combined the power of the demonic dragon bloodline and the Skyfall bow to shoot the Skyfall arrow, destroying the thundercloud. At the same time, the void fissure that was leaking the thundercloud was forcibly closed. Even the faint trace that it had sensed was forcibly erased. Otherwise, once that cyan heaven's eye awakens, Triumph City and Yi Xian would be in great trouble and wouldn't be able to escape this calamity. Could the detection of heaven's secrets mentioned by the ancestor of the Hellish Turtle clan be referring to a similar scene? That was most likely the case. It seemed that this divination technique was not a good thing. It would attract the green heavenly eye that was suspected to be the incarnation of the will of the heavenly Tao in the untainted land. This was simply a secret technique to attract disasters. Yi Xian originally wanted to learn it. He could not help this old bastard work for nothing. He had to at least get some benefits. But now, he immediately dispelled the thought. That cyan heaven's eye was at the same level as the headless infant corpse. Even the Netherworld Great Emperor, a supreme-level creature in the desolate antiquity era, couldn't really kill it when he used the Netherworld Claw to cut it in two. At most, he would only be slightly injured, but the cyan heaven's eye would still exist. Living to the present, it was just hibernating and hiding in some unknown mysterious void. One day, it would rise to the sky. From this, it could be seen how terrifying it was. Yi Xian avoided this kind of existence like the plague. How would he dare to provoke it easily? He immediately dismissed the idea of asking the ancestor of the Hellish Turtle clan for this divination technique. It was too dangerous, and it was better not to touch it. Whoosh! Whoosh! It was also at this time that the sound of air breaking suddenly came from all directions of the continent under Yi Xian's feet. Turning his head to look, he saw that around the vast continent beneath his feet, There were gigantic tortoise shells that were like mountains soaring into the sky. They were all gray and stained with blood. This caused Xian to be horrified, and he immediately cried out in alarm. "Old bastard, are you trying to use the divine ability of divination? These gray tortoiseshells stained with blood. This old turtle stripped them from my body. They represent vitality. Brat, do you think that the divination technique that can predict heaven's secrets can be calculated by just finding some broken bricks and tiles?" Ugh! Xian immediately felt a chill run down his spine. It represented life force, so sacrificing life force wasn't a big deal. The key point was that this method of peeling off pieces of bloody tortoise shell from his tortoise's back while still alive was a bit of a heavy taste. Just thinking about it made him feel a chill run down his spine. This time, he decisively did not want this divination technique. The old bastard could peel off tortoiseshell from his back. What would he do if it fell into his hands? Would he peel off the skin every time it was calculated? This was too King evil and bloody. Xian decisively gave up. During this process, the bloody tortoiseshell that rose from the vast continent under his feet did not stop. After a short period of time, the sky was covered with a huge curtain formed by tortoiseshell. It had a radius of 3,000 meters. Perhaps it was nothing to the ancestor of the hellish turtle clan, whose head was as big as a star. However, if it was used on Xian, it would definitely kill him. Even if he peeled off all the skin on his body, he would not be able to piece it together. It seemed that this divination technique was indeed not something that could be performed by a human. It was too deadly. Pay attention, the divination curtain has been laid out. This old turtle is about to start. Everything in the divination is related to saving the ancestor of the void realm, and they are all critical elements. Perhaps they are scattered and not related to each other, but all of them need you to string them together. At this time, the voice of the ancestor of the hellish turtle clan rang out again. When it reached Xian's ears, his heart trembled and he felt a little embarrassed. "Sigh, brat, if this old turtle were to perform this divination myself, there would be no need to build such a divination curtain. Everything is just to let you see it more directly and clearly. Don't be distracted. This divination of this old turtle has lost at least 1,000 years of my life, so you better not waste it." 1,000 years of life, this old bastard in front of him. If it were any other starry sky master, they would not be able to hold on and would weaken on the spot. Just as Xian was sighing in his heart, the divination curtain above his head, which was pieced together by pieces of bloody tortoiseshell, suddenly flashed with a blurred light. Then, some effects began to appear in this light. Chapter 34:20. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Unstoppable translation. In the sky, the divination screen showed a void. It was unknown where it was located, but it should be the third universe occupied by the human race. However, this void must belong to an extremely remote area, because the scene in the screen was too terrifying. If it was in a region where the human race was active, such a scene appearing in the vast void of the universe would definitely be seen by others. The three universe planes would be shocked and panic would ensue. Zombies. Universe zombies. Although there were not many of them, only a few hundred to less than 1,000, these hundreds of universe zombies were obviously not ordinary low-level zombies. They spread out in the vast void of the galaxy and were approaching the front of the void. It seemed that there was a target there, which should be a star, but it could not be seen in the divination screen. The hundreds of universe zombies had all evolved self-awareness and possessed a different kind of intelligence that belonged to zombies. Their body shapes were different. Some of them had evolved to have all kinds of characteristics that only ferocious beasts had, while some still maintained the body shape of a human. However, they were even stranger. There were many strange parts on their bodies, some like tentacles, some like antennae, and all of them must have extraordinary functions. There were hundreds of universe elites, and each of them had a very strong aura. They were at least existences in the 8th realm of the black hole realm. At the front of this army of elite zombies, there was clearly a figure that Xian was very familiar with. He had his hands behind his back and was moving slowly, as if he was strolling in his own backyard. It was the Zombie King, Tuoba Linfeng. Above his head was a black demonic blade with a monstrous demonic aura. It was the same blade that Xian had seen in the battle with him. It was in the form of energy, but it was exactly the same as the demonic blade that was inserted into the back of the void giant turtle. Even the aura was the same. What was even stranger was that the Zombie King, Tuoba Linfeng's appearance was clearly different from before. Previously, he could see his state at a glance. He was definitely a universe zombie. not a living person. But now, there was no trace of a zombie in his body. At this moment, he was moving slowly in front of this army of elite zombies. His body was sometimes in the form of flesh and blood, sometimes in the form of floating energy, and sometimes again, as if he was an illusion that did not exist. It was hard to imagine that his form of existence could change as he pleased. Even Yi Xian's nether body could not achieve this. Although the nether body was in existence in the form of energy, it could also transform into the appearance of a human. For example, Yi Xian was like this now. He maintained the nether body, but his appearance was that of a human's flesh and blood. However, this body of flesh and blood was merely an illusion created by the nether body. It was not a true body of flesh and blood. A true supreme being of the universe would be able to see through it with a single glance. This was also the reason why Yi Xian had always maintained his nether body. That way, his true identity would not be exposed. If he wanted to regain his human body, he would have to remove the nether body and let the little dark green claw in his head enter a state of cooling down and hibernation. It was absolutely impossible for him to be like Tuoba Linfeng, changing at will with a thought. This guy didn't die? He actually brought out such an elite zombie army from the Heaven Battle planet. In the midst of his shock, Yi Xian came to a realization. From the looks of it, the second outbreak of zombies in the universe should be caused by Tuoba Linfeng. This guy is too strange. He actually brought an elite zombie army to fight guerrilla warfare in the third universe. Before this, no one even knew of their existence. This is too scary. Although there aren't many elite zombies in this army, only a few hundred to 1,000, but they are all true elite zombies, and have evolved to have the unique intelligence of zombies. If they continue to grow like this in the future, they will continue to grow. The number of elite zombies will steadily increase like a rolling snowball. In the end, maybe they will develop into a powerful race. At that time it will be difficult to eradicate them. The human race will face a huge existential crisis. Is this zombie king an old friend of yours? What's above his head is the energy demonic blade. Since this person and his energy demonic blade appeared in the divination screen, it means that he is one of the key elements to save the void ancestor. As for what role he will play, you will need to connect all of this. At this time, the abyssal turtle ancestor's voice sounded again. But there is one thing that is without a doubt. You must first find this guy and control him. However, this matter won't be that simple. Although this kid's cultivation isn't very strong right now, only at the late stage of the mystic light realm, he has already evolved into the heavenly devil physique, which allows him to undergo countless transformations. It will be very difficult to capture him. Demonic body? Yi Xian was startled, and his eyelids jumped. He can now change between a physical body, an energy body, and an illusory soul body with a thought. Is it because of this so-called demonic body? This demonic body refers to the kind of extraterrestrial demon that can appear at any time during a cultivator's cultivation? That's right, the so-called heart demon is an extraterrestrial demon. The demonic body that this person has evolved into is a type of extraterrestrial demon. The abyssal turtle ancestor's voice sounded again. Extraterrestrial demons are actually a type of living creature, but no one knows where they are born and where they live. They are the most unpredictable and can change into a myriad of things. They can travel through the void without any obstruction. It is not easy to capture an extraterrestrial demon alive. At this point, the divination screen in the sky suddenly disappeared with a flash of light. Yi Xian fell into deep thought. What he saw just now was too shocking for him. Tuoba Linfeng actually did not die, and he was also responsible for this matter. If this caused a disaster for the human race, Yi Xian's Dao heart would be affected. After all, the cause of everything was more or less related to him. In addition, other than gathering a powerful elite zombie army under his command, this fellow had unexpectedly evolved into a heavenly demon body. His cultivation had soared to the late stage of the profound light realm, which was the 11th great realm. It was likely that when Yi Xian finally found him, his cultivation would be at least at the void realm. Thinking of this, Yi Xian shook his head and bitterly smiled. It seemed that there would be a lot of trouble in the future. Ordinary cultivators in the void realm would be very difficult to deal with. Although Yi Xian might be able to kill him, capturing him alive would add countless variables, not to mention that Tuoba Linfeng had an extraterrestrial demon body. It seems that this matter is not so easy to accomplish. Before it even started, I already feel that there are many difficulties. I am speechless. Yi Xian couldn't help but shake his head and bitterly smile. Chapter 34:21. Green eyes reappear looking up. The image of the divination screen in the sky had appeared once again. This time, there were no living creatures in the divinatory screen. The background was a sea of stars, and all the stars were gray. It was clearly the sea of hellish turtles in the outside world. However, because the stars in the picture were basically the same, and none of them were particularly large or had any obvious characteristics, it was very difficult to determine the exact location of the star field represented by this picture. After all, the Nether Turtle Ocean was too vast. At this moment, in this scene of the Sea of Stars, there was a star that was soaring into the sky. A pale pink screen of light, in which a piece of silk was floating. The silhouette of a woman seemed to be dancing on the silk. Counting carefully, there were a total of 6 silhouettes. Their shapes were different, but they were all graceful. Without a doubt, this silk net was none other than the primordial treasure, the smoke silk net, that was about to emerge in the Nether Turtle Sea. Its characteristics were too easy to identify. It could be seen at a glance. At this moment, this primordial treasured silk net had actually appeared in the divination screen of the Nether Turtle ancestor. This could only mean one thing, and that was the silk net was obviously one of the elements to save Big Bastard. Moreover, it was similarly extremely crucial, and it was ranked right after the silk net that was related to the Supreme Devil Blade. This clearly showed how important it was. Soon, the scene in the divination screen disappeared again. Xianxia shook his head and smiled bitterly. It seemed that he had to fight for the primordial treasure used by this woman. As such, what followed was bound to be a reign of terror. This treasure had attracted a large number of forces and powerhouses from the 3 universes. There were even a few supreme beings of the 15th realm of the universe. Even though they were quite afraid of the Netherworld Young Master that Xianxia had pulled out, they wouldn't be polite if the Netherworld Young Master wanted to compete with them for the Yen Luo. Rumble. Boom! Just as Xianxia was shaking his head and smiling bitterly, a series of loud explosions suddenly came from above without any warning. Even the ground beneath his feet was shaking violently, and the smell of blood assailed his nostrils. Xianxia was aghast. His heart was violently shaken. In a flash, he guessed something and looked up in shock. In his line of sight, the divination screen in the sky, which had a radius of around 10,000 feet and was pieced together by gray and blood-stained tortoiseshell, exploded, and a spatial rift appeared behind the exploded screen. There was a large amount of azure tribulation clouds within the rift, and they were like a raging river that was gushing out. Their auras were extremely terrifying, and they revealed a heavy aura of destruction. That wasn't the main point. The real key was the scene in the depths of the Cyan Fissure. There was clearly a huge Cyan Heavenly Eye sleeping there. At this moment, the eyelids of the Cyan Heavenly Eye had begun to tremble slightly. This was clearly the rhythm of waking up. This scene was exactly the same as the heavenly tribulation he had attracted when he had used the genetic evolution fluid to break through to the 8th realm in Triumph City in the Death Star field. At the same time, he had also evolved the fallen sky bow and the demonic dragon bloodline in his body, causing his power to soar. In the sky, there was also a large expanse of rolling green thunderclouds, which also poured out from a void crack that appeared in the void. Similarly, there was also a Cyan Heavenly Eye that was sleeping. At that time, if Xianxia hadn't used the demonic dragon bloodline and the fallen sky bow to shoot the fallen sky arrow to destroy the thunderclouds, and at the same time, forcibly closed the void crack that was pouring out of the thunderclouds. Even the trace he sensed at that time was forcibly erased. It would have been very difficult for Xianxia to survive that tribulation. Now, all of this had happened again. The Nether Turtle ancestor was right. This divination technique was so heaven-defying that it had once again attracted the attention of the Heavenly Eye and sent down a heavenly tribulation. Quick! Immediately close this fissure and erase the trace. Otherwise, once the Heavenly Eye awakens, we will all die. Xianxia immediately screamed in horror. Although the headless infant corpse was attached to his body, it didn't show any reaction at this moment. In fact, the infant corpse had been hibernating all this time, without the slightest trace of aura. It seemed to be in some kind of critical metamorphosis and evolution. This time, it was unlikely that they could rely on the headless infant corpse. Although Xianxia had used the power of the demon dragon's bloodline and the heavenly fallen bow's divine ability to shoot an arrow and erase all traces of his senses, it was effective last time. This time it might not be. Moreover, he was now in the nether body. Although he could remove this state with a thought, return to his human form, and then use the fallen sky bow's power, the process would still take time no matter how fast it was. The Cyan Heavenly Eye in the depths of the mysterious fissure in the sky would wake up at any time. It was too late. At this moment, Yi Xian felt an unprecedented sense of life and death crisis. It even surpassed the time he fought with the heavenly Dao Azure Eye in the ancient desolate cage in the demon domain. The desolate ancient cage was a corner of the desolate ancient starry sky, and the so-called heavenly eye in it was actually incomplete. At most, it could be regarded as a clone of the heavenly eye. The one that appeared in the sky now was definitely the real heavenly eye, and it was suspected to be the supreme existence that had fought against the headless infant corpse in the desolate ancient era. Although it had appeared in the Death Star field before, at that time, although this heavenly eye had appeared, it did not show any signs of waking up. Moreover, it was different now. Its eyelids were trembling, and it could wake up at any time. Sigh, what will come, just like last time. This really makes me speechless. This time, the Nether Turtle clan is really going to be sealed off. However, what made Yi Xian even more speechless was that in the face of such a terrifying crisis, the Nether Turtle ancestor did not panic at all. It was still extremely calm, and even its tone was so indifferent, revealing a touch of laziness. Immediately after, around the vast land under Yi Xian's feet, a gray blood mist rose into the sky and swept towards the fissure in the sky. Yi Xian was stunned, and his heart instantly jerked. He knew that the vast land beneath his feet that seemed like an enormous star was actually the head of an enormous turtle, the head of the Nether Turtle ancestor. Then, it wasn't difficult to guess where the gray blood mist that shot into the sky from this expanse of land came from. No wonder he smelled such a dense smell of blood earlier. It turned out that the Nether Turtle ancestor had expected this scene and was prepared for it. All of this was the heart blood essence of the Nether Turtle ancestor. Every drop of heart blood essence represented one's lifespan, and it was extremely likely for one to die halfway if too much was lost. Yet now, the Nether Turtle ancestor had sacrificed large amounts of heart blood essence, and this was only possible because of his terrifying size. If it was anyone else, that person would have probably perished on the spot after sacrificing such a huge amount of heart blood essence. In fact, if it was anyone else, they would be utterly unable to produce so much heart blood essence, and they would not be able to gather it even if they tried. Rumble. Boom. Chapter 34-22. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Nether Turtle Seal, Rumble. Boom. A huge explosion sounded out. Yi Xian was shocked as he raised his head to look. In front of the huge spatial rift in the sky, a blood-colored giant tortoise was rapidly exploding and pouncing toward the rift. All of the cyan tribulation clouds were moved by its body, as if there was some kind of mysterious suction force in the body of this blood-colored giant tortoise. This blood-red giant turtle was condensed from a large amount of blood essence from the heart of the Nether Turtle ancestor, which was whistling around the vast land under Yi Xian's feet. It represented the lifespan of the Nether Turtle ancestor and the fate of the Nether Turtle clan. However, at this moment, in order to hide from the heavens and protect Yi Xian, to buy time for him to grow and return in the future to save the Void Bastard, the Nether Turtle ancestor was willing to do anything. The giant blood-red tortoise was surrounded by a large amount of cyan tribulation clouds. Soon, it rushed into the spatial crack. Then, it exploded, turning into a bloody mist that covered the sky. It blocked everything and blocked all traces of detection. This scene was too shocking. Yi Xian saw a giant turtle explode into powder with his own eyes, but the bloody mist was still performing its original function and completing everything. The moment before the void crack in the sky completely disappeared, Yi Xian clearly saw the terrifying green eye in the depths of the void crack slowly open a slit. It was a close call. If it weren't for the Nether Turtle Patriarch's quick reaction and preparation, the cyan heavenly eye in the depths of the void crack would have opened completely. Yi Xian had a strong intuition that once his figure was seen by that cyan heavenly eye, even if it was just a glance, then in the future, no matter how hard he tried, he would not be able to escape its detection and pursuit. His body trembled slightly, and only now did he realize that his back was already wet. Although he was now a powerful existence in the third level of the Grotto Heaven realm, Yi Xian was still not even an ant in the face of this green eye that was suspected to be an avatar of the primeval era's will of the heavens. Not only him, but even a powerful figure in the 15th level of the universe realm was just an ant in front of the green eye of the heavens way. Old bastard, I have to say, I have to thank you this time. I feel like I've turned back from the brink of death. My whole body is wet. These words were from the bottom of Yi Xian's heart. As he said, he raised his hand and wiped his forehead. Sure enough, it was full of cold sweat. There's an aura in your body that is not weaker than that. To Yi Xian's word translation. The turtle ancestors' words translation. Is words. Is word words. Is words. Words translation. Words. Words of words translation. Is words. Words translation word translation. Words translation. Translation words translation. Translation words translation words ice translation is translation is translation in translation. Although the feeling lasted only for a moment, the blood tortoise sent a message to me before it exploded. It said. It sensed the fear and anger of the Cyan Heaven's eye. It clearly sensed something from this side of the void. An existence that can make the heavenly eye angry and fearful. I admit that I am not qualified to do so. Then, there is no doubt that the thing is in your body. It was really too dangerous this time. Fortunately, the blood tortoise exploded in the end and erased all traces. Even the path of the tribulation cloud was completely erased. Even if it really wakes up, it won't be able to find this place. While speaking, the turtle ancestor's voice was getting weaker and weaker. However, we can't use the heavenly divination technique again. This time, we have been targeted by the heavenly eye. If there is a next time, the other party will definitely lock on to our position at all costs. You'd better take care of yourself. Get Yen Luo, capture the heavenly devil body, then come back and enter the sea of hellish turtles. When the time comes, I will naturally sense it and send my clansmen to pick you up. Before that, my clan needs to seal the clan. This time, not only did I pay 10,000 years of my life to peek into the secrets of the heavens, but the luck of the entire hellish turtle clan has also been reduced by half. If we don't seal the clan, I'm afraid a great disaster will befall us. Little guy, you'd better take care of yourself. At the end of his speech, the voice of the hellish turtle ancestor gradually weakened, as if he was about to fall asleep. Yi Xian immediately became anxious and hurriedly said, Hey, old bastard, are you serious? You're actually going to sleep while talking. Can't you tell me what to do first? Is your hellish turtle clan really going to seal the clan? Then what about this sea of hellish turtles? Now that the top forces of the 3 universes have gathered here and are making a ruckus in your home, you should at least leave 1 or 2 universe realm experts to watch over it, right? Besides, this young master is now in a cooperative relationship with you, and fighting for the Yen Luo is not my business alone. You should at least contribute a little. Leave 2 universe realm elders to be this young master's bodyguards. No, to help this young master seize the Yen Luo, that should be fine, right? No. As soon as Yi Xian finished speaking, the hellish turtle ancestor flatly refused. All the hellish turtles will immediately fall asleep and enter the secret realm of the hellish turtle clan's ancestral land. They will not appear in the sea of hellish turtles in the outside world. After you leave, the secret realm of the hellish turtle clan will also be sealed. Unless more than 3 existences beyond the universe realm join forces at the same time and attack with all their might, there is a chance of breaking it open within a year. Therefore, no matter how great the chaos outside is, it will not affect my hellish turtle clan. As for the Yen Luo, this old turtle has confidence in you. Good luck, I have high hopes for you. Swish! As soon as the last sentence was said, Yi Xian felt a sudden blur in front of his eyes. A rapid sound of breaking through the air rang out, and his entire body seemed to have entered a mysterious state of extreme speed. Of course it was passive. He subconsciously closed his eyes, and when he opened them again half a second later, the giant turtle head under his feet had already disappeared. At this moment, he was standing in a vast void, and the stars around him were emitting a faint gray aura. This was clearly the Sea of Hellish Turtles, and he had already been sent out of the Hellish Turtle secret realm by the Hellish Turtle ancestor. If nothing unexpected happened, at this moment, all the thousands of Hellish Turtles in the clan should have entered the Hellish Turtle secret realm. The Hellish Turtle clan was completely sealed. Wow, you old bastard, you're too stingy. You just said you have high hopes for this young master and you directly sent me away. Don't be so infuriating. After realizing that he had been unceremoniously swept out of the door in the blink of an eye, Yi Xian was so angry that he almost exploded on the spot. Didn't he just want to trick the 2 Hellish Turtle clan elders into becoming his personal guards? It's not like he would kidnap them and leave the Sea of Hellish Turtles. It's too infuriating to not even agree to this. Chapter 34-23. Battle Lion. After a wave of depression, Yi Xian gradually calmed down, and he rolled his eyes before he had a plan. Even though the Nether Turtle clan has already been sealed, the outside world isn't aware of this. Moreover, the Nether Turtle clan's elder that made an appearance earlier possessed a cultivation at the advanced stage of the universe realm, and he was much more formidable than Jianghu, Long Ziwen, and the Browless Freak. As for the Nether Turtle clan's elder that spoke later, he even emanated a terrifying aura that surpassed the universe realm. Even the Nether Turtle clan's elder was like this, so it's obvious how terrifying the Nether Turtle ancestor's cultivation is. This ancestor was personally received by the Nether Turtle clan's elder, and was sent to the Nether Turtle ancestor's place of cultivation. Everyone witnessed this at that time. When he spoke up to hear, Yi Xian felt confident in his heart, and he grinned complacently. So, even though the Nether Turtle clan has already been sealed, this ancestor can still pull this banner. After all, this is the territory of the Nether Turtle clan, and those formidable Nether Turtles might make an appearance at any moment. Pulling this banner is more or less useful. So long as I don't force those old fellows into a corner, then there's basically no one that dares to disobey this ancestor. When he thought like this, Yi Xian instantly became excited. Even though that old bastard, the Nether Turtle ancestor, is stingy, he still wasn't able to escape this young master's scheme. He was used in the end. Yes, everything else can be put aside for now. The only important matter at hand is to obtain that primordial treasure, Yuan Luo, that female cultivator utilized. After he adjusted his state of mind, Yi Xian immediately fell into deep contemplation, and he recalled the scenes he'd seen in the divination screen of the Nether Turtle ancestor. In the end, he confirmed that the star that surged up amidst the light that shot into the sky really didn't have any conspicuous characteristics, and it seemed extremely inconspicuous like the other gray stars in the surroundings. From the looks of it, it will be extremely difficult to find this star that hides Yen Luo. Frowning, Yi Xian was a little speechless. The sea of Nether Turtles is too vast, and the desolate ancient treasure, Smoke Silk Net, is hidden in an inconspicuous little star. When it appears, although a pillar of light will appear, the range is too wide. If the distance is too close, I'm afraid that the treasure will be taken away before I can arrive. This matter is really a headache. No matter what, we have to find Yin Qi and his group of old bastards first. Although our numbers are still too few, and if we throw them into this vast Nether Turtle starfield, we won't even be able to make a splash, but it's better than nothing. Thinking like this, Yi Xian temporarily put this matter to the back of his mind. Since he could not determine the exact location of the star where Yen Luo was located, he could only treat it as a blind cat hitting a dead mouse and rely on luck. Very soon, Yi Xian leaped up and left his original spot. He randomly chose a direction to look for Yin Qi and the others. At the same time, in a corner of the Sea of Nether Turtles. Even though the ancestor Huan Xing had temporarily left and was led by the patriarch of the Nether Turtle clan to meet the ancestor of the Nether Turtle clan, Yin Qi and the others were still guarding the surroundings of the 9 Dragons Azure Phoenix carriage as they casually strolled around the star region. From time to time, he would shout a few words, often startling the nearby starry sky masters who heard this movement. After understanding what was going on, the looks on their faces would suddenly become strange. In the end, they would retreat one after another, as if they were avoiding ghosts and gods. Ancestor Huan Ting, the best in the world. Enjoy immortal blessings forever, and live as long as the heavens. Ancestor Huan Ting, punch and kick. The 3 great universes cry bitterly. The ostentatious display was already big enough. The 9 Dragons Azure Phoenix carriage, which had a radius of 1,000 feet, was a desolate antiquity treasure that used everything on the level of extravagance and ostentatiousness. Probably even the immortal emperor of an immortal dynasty would not be embarrassed to drive such a carriage. It was too ostentatious. However, not only were more than 10,000 members of the Een Demon clan guarding such a flashy top-grade carriage, everyone also knew that the carriage was completely empty. Except for more than 100 Een Demon maids, there was not a single soul in sight. Not only did they have the guts to boast so loudly, but they even added that Patriarch Huan Ting had punched and kicked the 3 universes, making them weep in pain. This could no longer be described as high-profile and ostentatious. It was simply the wrath of the heavens and the resentment of the people. Many of the starry sky powerhouses among the forces were all glaring, but most of them dared not say anything. After all, the incident of the Federation Headquarters Overwatch Council's Deputy Director Hongdo Lifeng being torn apart by the perverted Huan Ting ancestor was still fresh in their minds. No one dared to provoke such an old monster. Even the 4 prodigies of the human clan who came to the Sea of Hellish Turtles to fight for the desolate antiquity treasure could only be angry but did not dare to say anything. They could only discuss and curse in private. This so-called ancestor Huan Ting is simply too arrogant. I thought there was no existence more arrogant than Ling Hu Chong in the world. I didn't expect to see one in the end. Sigh, if only that Ling Hu Chong was in the Sea of Hellish Turtles right now. If this perverted old monster bumped into him, the scene would be very interesting. Stop dreaming. Ling Hu Chong can't come back. He has been banished to the vast and unknown void. Maybe he has already been torn to pieces by the endless void turbulence. You don't say. Now that I see this perverted old monster, I really do miss him. Perhaps only a monster like him can suppress this kind of trash. Even if the invincible war god came, it wouldn't be enough. Although his battle strength is strong, his shameless arrogance can't suppress the situation. It was also at this moment that one of the top forces from the 3 universes that had entered the Sea of Nether Turtles could no longer bear to watch. He stood up and openly questioned the Een Demon clan, asking them to get out of the Sea of Nether Turtles. Rumble! Rumble! Amidst the rolling thunder, a black fortress with a diameter of 100,000 meters rushed over from the distant void. A huge lion's head was etched on the hull of this starry fortress. It was the Battle Lion clan from the second universe. The Battle Lion clan was warlike by nature, and their bloodline was extremely powerful. They were ranked 3rd among the clans of the Second Universe Federation. Even the other clans in the top 10 didn't dare to provoke them easily. This was because all the clansmen of this clan were too warlike. They either didn't fight, or they fought to the death. They would only stop when one side fell. This time, they entered the Sea of Hellish Turtles to fight for the primordial treasure Yen Luo. Although the Battle Lion clan had only dispatched a starry fortress with a diameter of 100,000 meters, the one guarding the fortress was a 15th level universe realm expert of the Battle Lion clan. In addition, there was also the young patriarch of the clan, the #1 genius of the Battle Lion clan, Lion Boffing. At this time, as the black starry fortress rumbled over, Lion Boffing's arrogant laughter resounded through this part of the sky. Ha ha ha. Een Demon clan, has your entire clan become a clown? How dare you play such tricks in the Sea of Hellish Turtles? Chapter 34-24. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Blood Slaughter Lion today. This young lord will exterminate your Een Demon clan. Exterminate your clan. The young master of the Battle Lion clan, Jean Boffing's arrogant roar reverberated in all directions. A large portion of the Dark Turtle Sea's void was shaken, and there was a faint echo in the void. This was illogical, as if it was an illusion. However, a few strong people in the starry sky exclaimed, "Battle Lion's roar!" This is one of the bloodline abilities of the Battle Lion clan. It's not the strongest, but it can intimidate the mind. It has the same effect as the mysterious 9 heavens 10 earths chant of Heavenly Naga from the human cultivation camp. The Een Demon clan is in trouble this time. The reason why they are feared is because their clan leader, the Een Emperor, is very powerful. He is already at the late stage of the universe realm, the 15th Great Realm. If they attack the Een Emperor's nest, it is very likely that the Een Emperor will wake up, which will lead to bad consequences. However, the Een Demon clan is moving in full force. Apart from Ancestor Huan Ting, who has been invited by the ancestor of the Netherworld clan and hasn't replied for 2 days, the strongest among the 10,000 Een demons are only 3 elders at the late stage of the Grotto Heaven realm, the 12th Great Realm. This is clearly not enough, especially when they are facing the Battle Lion clan, which is one of the top 3 clans in the Federation of the Second Universe. Although the Battle Lion clan has only mobilized a fortress with a diameter of 100,000 meters, the one overseeing it is a 15th Great Realm Battle Lion clan elder. Even the young master, Lion Batian, is known as one of the 3 invincible young masters of the Second Universe. He is young, but he is already at the early stage of the Void Realm, the 12th Great Realm. Although Een Chi and the other 2 Een Demon clan elders are in the same Great Realm, his bloodline talent is extremely extraordinary. He is known to be invincible in the same realm. He might be able to fight 1 against 3 and suppress the 3 Een Demon clan elders. If this is really the case, then the Battle Lion clan sent out a young clan leader to suppress the 3 clan elders of the Een Demon clan at the same time. If this matter were to spread, even if the clan leader of the Een Demon clan, the Een Emperor, were to awaken, he would have no choice but to swallow his anger. He can't stand up, or he will be a laughingstock. The three elders were suppressed by the young master of the Battle Lion clan. How can they still have the face? As the discussions continued, fleets from different forces from the three universes gathered one after another in the surrounding voids. They had long disliked the Devil clan's high profile. However, they were afraid of the mysterious Huan Tan ancestor, so they did not dare to voice their anger. But things were different now. The Battle Lion race was ranked third among the races of the Second Universe Federation, and they were not even afraid of the Dark Turtle race. This was because the Battle Lion race also had a supreme battle lion that surpassed the 15th Great Realm, the Universe Realm, and there was more than one of them. Therefore, the Battle Lion clan could completely disregard the so-called Netherworld Young Master, Ancestor Huan Ting. Even if his Tao protectors woke up at the same time, they might not be able to do anything to the Battle Lion clan. They were existences that surpassed the 15th Great Realm. The few Grand Elders of the Battle Lion clan were also powerful battle lions of the same level. At most they would just fight. The experts in the fleets of the various forces that were swarming over seemed to have realized something. This time, the vexing army of the Demon clan would most likely be completely defeated here. Not to mention that their Netherworld young master was not here at the moment. Even if he was, he would not be able to change anything. Soon, a large number of fleets from various forces gathered in the surrounding void. They floated in the void a little further away as if they were watching a show. From time to time, there would be some mocking laughter from the fleets. Everyone was waiting to see the Demon clan make a fool of themselves. They wanted to see how Chi and the other two Void Realm patriarchs of the Demon clan would be suppressed. The Battle Lion race felt no pressure in this battle. Young clan leader Bofeng definitely had the strength to suppress Chi and the other two in one fell swoop. Unfortunately, he was a junior. Under the situation of 1 against 3, even if he deliberately beheaded Chi and the other two Devil clan elders on the spot, the Devil clan could only grit their teeth and swallow their grievances. Not only did the experts of the various forces in the fleets in the surrounding void understand this point, but even the young master of the Battle Lion race, Bofeng, was also well aware of this point. Seeing a large number of fleets crowding over and stopping a little further away to watch, Bofeng felt that this was a good opportunity to gain face. At this moment, he had already leaped out of the pitch-black starry sky fortress of the Battle Lion race alone. He was suspended in the void of the sea of hellish turtles in front of him. Not even a guardian was following behind him. Standing proudly, his aura penetrated the mountains and rivers. He sneered and pointed at Chi and the other two Void Realm patriarchs. "The three of you, do you dare to answer?" "Humph. Don't blame me for not reminding you. My Battle Lion race either doesn't take action, or once we take action, we will either perish or destroy the enemy. Otherwise, we will not give up. I respect the three of you as my seniors, so I will allow the three of you to join forces and fight together. If you dare to fight, then come forward. If you don't, then immediately tuck your tails between your legs and get out of the sea of hellish turtles." Get out of the sea of hellish turtles. In the last sentence, Bofeng clearly displayed the Battle Lion's roar innate ability of the Battle Lion. As the roar came out, a large part of the void of the sea of hellish turtles was stirred up, and there was a faint echo in the void. Not only was it unscientific, it was like an illusion, and it was even more shocking. Chi, Ba, and Jiao, who originally had gloomy expressions, felt their hearts tremble, and they almost fell to the ground. Bofeng's bloodline innate ability was indeed extraordinary. In the Battle Lion race, even some of the older generation's Battle Lions were far inferior to him. Although there was still a certain distance to the bloodline atavism, he looked down on the race since ancient times and was known as a rare genius in the race. If not, he wouldn't be known as invincible in the same realm, and he wouldn't dare to challenge the three great Void Realm elders of the Demon race at the same time when he was only at the initial stage of the Void Realm. All of this was because the bloodline ability of the Battle Lion race was too powerful. The Battle Lion's roar was only an auxiliary innate ability inherited in the race's bloodline, and the race was called the Battle Lion. The real most powerful bloodline innate ability was obviously related to battle. It was said that the bloodline ancestor of the Battle Lion race was the Blood Slaughter Lion of the Desolate Era. Its 9 transformation of the Berserk Lion was incomparably powerful, and it had once shown in the unparalleled battle of the Desolate Era. However, which camp did the bloodline ancestor of the Battle Lion race belong to? Whether it was the Headless Infant Corpse's side or the side suspected to be the Desolate Era's Will of the Heavenly Way's side, which was the side with the Eye of the Heavenly Way. No one knew about this matter, and there was simply no way to confirm it. The battle of that year was too long ago. What? Are you afraid to fight? Chapter 34-25. Translator, Transin Editor, Transin Poodle Roar. Blood Slaughter Lion, First Change. An earth-shattering lion's roar resounded through this side of the world. As Lion Ba Feng's voice spread out, a phantom of 100 feet long berserk lion suddenly appeared behind him. Its angry mane was stained with blood, and its angry eyes were filled with killing intent, causing this side of the void to tremble slightly. In an instant, this blood phantom of 100 feet long berserk lion entered the body of Lion Ba Feng, whose hair was fluttering in the wind. His figure instantly skyrocketed, and in the blink of an eye, he revealed his bloodline true body. A blood-colored berserk lion that was 100 feet long, with a pair of blood-red eyes that were as huge as a mountain, stared closely at Xianxia and the other two, and had already locked onto their auras. The various races of the second universe basically had the blood of some ancient or even desolate ancient beasts flowing in their bodies. But for other races, revealing a huge bloodline true body was basically the last resort. Even the last 7 races of the top 10 of the Federation of the Second Universe were the same. Only the top 3 races revealed their bloodline true body, which was far from the peak of their true combat power, but it was just the beginning. It was also because of this that these 3 races were able to firmly stand in the top 3 of the Federation of the Second Universe for hundreds of millions of years, unshakable and unshakable. Even the Dark Turtle clan, which had a few living fossils in the clan and was generally incomparably powerful because of their long lifespan, had never truly entered the top 3. From this, one could see the strength of the top 3 races of the Federation of the Second Universe. And the Battle Lion clan was only at the bottom of these 3 races, but even so, it was still not to be ignored. Roar! Blood Slaughter Lion, Second Change. A second violent lion roar sounded, and behind Lion Ba Feng, a giant blood-red lion phantom appeared. Then, this giant blood-red lion phantom instantly entered Lion Ba Feng's body, causing his body to expand again in an instant. In the blink of an eye, he had transformed into the true body of a giant lion. A pair of blood-red eyes that were as huge as a mountain were still staring at Xianxia and the other two, locking onto their auras. Although his cultivation aura was still at the initial stage of the 12th Great Realm, the supreme fiendish aura had already turned the world upside down and was completely different. If it was said that the first transformation, which revealed 100 zhong-long berserk lion's body, had only shocked Xianxia and the other two, then now, as the true body of 1,000 zhong-long berserk lion appeared, Xianxia and the other two were so shocked that even their courage was trembling. Blood Slaughter Lion's second transformation? My God, his bloodline true body has become 10 times more powerful than the first transformation. It's exactly the same as the legends. Legend has it that every time the 9 transformations of the bloodthirsty mad lion erupts with a transformation, the bloodthirsty true body will grow 10 times stronger. Even if the bloodthirsty mad lion's aura doesn't change, the difference in the power of their blood and chi is like the difference between heaven and earth. Any opponent that could match them before will be instantly crushed. After reaching the 9th transformation, the terror of the bloodline true body will increase exponentially. It will reach the level of the void tortoise, and with a wave of its claw, it can create a galaxy. However, no battle lion has ever reached that level. Even the current patriarch of the Battle Lion clan has only reached the 3rd transformation of the bloodthirsty mad lion. However, the young patriarch of the Battle Lion race, who is known as the existence with the strongest bloodline talent in the race in the past 10,000 years, had long since reached the 4th transformation of the Blood Slaughter Lion's divine ability many years ago. Heavens, the 4th transformation? What kind of concept is that? The 2nd transformation is 10,000 zhong long. The 3rd transformation is 10,000 zhong long. Wouldn't the 4th transformation be 100,000 zhong long? A body of 300,000 meters? Even the starry sky fortress is just a small thing in front of him. As they muttered to themselves, Xianxia, Xianba, and Xianjiao couldn't help but tremble in their knees. If Lion Ba Feng could really use the 4th transformation of the bloodthirsty mad lion, then his bloodline true body would reach an unprecedented 100,000 zhong long, which was 300,000 meters. A small part of the sky would be covered by his body. Even if his cultivation aura didn't change, he was still at the early stage of the void realm. But who would dare to treat him as an existence of the void realm? A terrifying bloodline true body of 300,000 meters, even if a real powerhouse of the universe came, he would have to treat it with caution, right? Roar! Bloodthirsty mad lion 3rd transformation. Just as Xianxia, Xianba, and Xianjiao were exclaiming, in the void in front of them, the young patriarch of the Battle Lion clan, Lion Ba Feng roared again, and a small part of the void trembled. His voice was too loud. After all, the current Lion Ba Feng was already 1,000 zhong long universe battle lion, far from his previous human form. Along with this violent roar, a majestic universe astral wind instantly blew in the surrounding universe void. The invisible universe energy was completely sucked in and gathered in one place, forming a huge invisible vortex in the center. And this energy vortex was located next to the mouth of the bloodthirsty Mad Lion Pavilion. After swallowing, the young master of the Battle Lion clan, Lion Ba Feng's body rapidly expanded like a balloon. 2,000 zhong, 3,000 zhong, until the final 10,000 zhong. The bloodthirsty Mad Lion third transformation was completed, and its size was indeed as described in the legends. From the previous 10,000 zhong, it had expanded to the current 10,000 zhong, which was 10 times its original size. 10,000 zhong, which was equivalent to 30,000 meters, was comparable to a small fortress. Moreover, the visual effect was even more shocking than that of a small stronghold. Although the diameter of a small fortress was 50,000 meters, and this bloodthirsty Mad Lion was only 30,000 meters, the former was a majestic steel fortress, which was not rare in the universe void, while the latter was just a bloodthirsty Mad Lion. Normally, even a 10,000-meter-long star beast would be shocking enough. But now, a 30,000-meter-long bloodthirst lion had suddenly appeared in the void. Gasps could be heard from the starry fleets in the surrounding void. As for Yin Qi, Yin Ba, and Yin Jiu, they were so shocked that they almost fainted on the spot. Their faces were extremely gloomy, and they gnashed their teeth, hating each other. Damn it, this broken lion dog can change too much. In the blink of an eye, it has already become 10,000 zhong long. Careless, really too careless. Just now, when it barked for the first time, we should have attacked and not given it a chance to continue its berserk transformation. All Yin demon clansmen, listen up. Leave behind 100 people to guard the 9 Dragons Azure Phoenix carriage. The rest of the clansmen, follow the 3 of us and eat this lion dog alive. That's right, this guy can berserk transformation and is suspected to carry the rabies virus. For the peace of the universe, there is no time to be polite with him. Our clan will not lose face to him. This is not a one-on-one battle, this is a dog slaughter battle, a crazy lion dog. Chapter 34-26. The old ancestor returns poodle? Rabies virus? The dignified young patriarch of the Battle Lion clan was actually associated with such words at this moment. This made Lion Ba Feng so furious that he felt unwell. Roar! How dare you insult this young patriarch? All of you must die. The 3 patriarchs of the Yin Demon clan? In this young patriarch's eyes, you are just a bunch of ants. This young patriarch alone will suppress all of you. Roar! The gigantic blood berserk lion went completely berserk. It let out a furious roar, and its huge figure, which was like a small fortress, suddenly burst out. With a leap, it covered a distance of 10,000 miles and directly landed in front of the Yin Demon clan's camp. Swish! Ka-cha-cha! Boom! Boom! A fierce hurricane blew up. The gigantic blood berserk lion raised its right forelimb and swept it towards the Yin Demon clan's camp. In an instant, the sound of bones shattering could be heard. There were even some concentrated sounds of explosions. Some of the weaker Yin Demon clan's clansmen couldn't resist at all. In the blink of an eye, they were blasted to death by the majestic power contained in the sweep. For a moment, the space where the Yin Demon clan's camp was filled with thick black fog. The Yin Demon clan's clansmen didn't have flesh and blood bodies. This black fog was the manifestation of their divine souls being destroyed and their bodies disintegrating into energy. With just a sweep of the claw, at least several hundred Yin Demon clan's clansmen had died. Such a terrifying power of chi and blood had already surpassed the effect of the peak of the 12th Great Realm, the Void Realm. Currently, the young patriarch of the Berserk Lion clan, Shi Ba Feng, was at least at the middle or late stage of the beginning realm. Moreover, this was only the effect after he had successfully activated the 3rd transformation of the Blood Berserk Lion. Although the patriarch of the Battle Lion clan had only cultivated to the 3rd transformation of the Berserk Lion, legend had it that this young patriarch of the Battle Lion clan had surpassed his master and had long grasped the profundity of the 4th transformation of the Blood Berserk Lion. At this moment, after seeing him display the terrifying might of the 3rd transformation of the Blood Ferocious Lion with their own eyes, the experts from the various powers who were watching the battle from afar all cried out in shock. Awesome, my brother! What a huge lion! It's actually over 10,000 zhang long. Even if it's a true ferocious star beast, it's rare to see one with such a size. That's right. The bloodline of the warrior lion clan's young master is too extraordinary. Even if he hasn't returned to his ancestral state, he is not far from it. One day, he will become the #1 overlord among the younger generation of the various races in the second universe. Such a heroic figure is destined to shake the world. Shi Baofeng's name has been resounding in the second universe for a long time, but he rarely appears in front of people in a real battle. I didn't expect that today's first battle would be to suppress an entire clan. It's too amazing. The young generation of the second universe finally has an amazing person. That's right. The shame of Ji Jinghong, Jiao Ritian, and the others being suppressed by the peerless genius of the third universe may be washed away today. Although the ones being suppressed are not from the human race, the Yin Demon clan is not a race of the Federation. This battle with the warrior lion clan is very satisfying. It's a pity that young Master Linghu has been exiled. Otherwise, if he were in this sea of dark turtles at this moment, he would probably kneel down and submit to the supreme majesty of Shi Baofeng. Alas, back in the heavenly war starfield, the warrior lion clan's young master did not appear. He missed the opportunity to become famous in the 3 universes. In the face of these exclamations, the warrior lion clan's young master, Shi Baofeng, was in high spirits. He proudly pointed out, although these 3 old guys are clan elders, in this young master's eyes, they are not even ants. To suppress them, the 3rd transformation of the blood-ferocious lion is already extravagant. There is no need for the 4th transformation. As for that foodie Linghu Chong, this young master did not go to the heavenly war empire that day. Otherwise, I would have suppressed him. Although I do not have the habit of slaughtering and eating people, I can still smash his body with one claw and kick his head under my feet like a ball. These words were too arrogant. Most of the fleets watching the battle in the surrounding void were from the human race from the 3rd universe. There were forces from the science and technology camp and also forces from the cultivation camp. Although they did not like young Master Linghu, the latter was, after all, a human. At this moment, he was being belittled by the young master of a certain clan from the 2nd universe. Many human race experts were indignant. However, the warrior lion clan's young master was indeed too powerful. At this moment, the 10,000 feet bloodline true body he had revealed was explosively heaven-defying. What's more, in the pitch-black starry sky fortress behind him, there was a supreme being of the 15th great realm. The surrounding human race experts were indignant but did not dare to say anything. For a moment, the prestige of the warrior lion clan surged throughout the entire void. The battle instantly shook the sky. The more than 10,000 members of the Yin Demon clan were all mobilized. Except for 200 clansmen who protected the 9 Dragons Azure Phoenix carriage and retreated, the rest all joined the battle to suppress the warrior lion clan's young master. Boom! Boom, boom, boom. Violent explosions rang out unceasingly. The 10,000 feet tall lion Baofeng detonated the entire void by himself. Every minute, every second, there were casualties among the Yin demons. Even the 3 elders, Yin Qi, Yin Ba, and Yin Jiao, who had the cultivation of the 12th great realm, the middle and late stage of the void, began to retreat and spurt out blood. Lion Baofeng was indeed too powerful. The might of the 3rd transformation of the blood slaughter lion could not be measured with common sense. This was clearly the rhythm of suppressing an entire clan by himself. The most powerful member of the Yin Demon clan was the clan's leader, Yin Di. He was already a supreme existence of the 15th great realm, the late stage of the universe realm. However, at this moment, Yin Di was not here. No one took the Yin Demon clan seriously. The young master of the Berserk Lion clan, who was ranked 3rd in the 2nd universe, wanted to suppress their entire clan by himself. PFFF. Unexpectedly, Elder Yin Qi was struck by Lion Baofeng's claw. A fierce gale burst forth, and Yin Qi suffered heavy internal injuries. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. He was so furious that he was about to go crazy. Poodle, just you wait. Soon, my clan's old ancestor will return. At that time, he will make you into a braised lion's head in soy sauce and let my clansmen eat to their heart's content. Ha ha ha. That's right, braised lion's head in soy sauce. Smash his dog's head. The Yin Demon clan's temperament was disagreeable, and they were all a bunch of troublemakers. In just a short while, close to 1,000 clansmen had their bodies blown up and turned into black fog. The battlefield could not be said to not be desperate. But even so, not a single one of the clansmen of the Demon clan retreated. Although there were casualties at every moment, they still fought bravely. Following Chi's words, the surrounding Demon clan's clansmen all roared insolently. Their fighting spirit was awe-inspiring. This was clearly the rhythm of the entire clan fighting until there was not a single soldier left. Even if they all fell here, they would not lower their heads. Seeing this scene, even the experts of the various major powers who were watching the battle in the surroundings sighed one after another. They all believed that the Demon clan was finished this time. Even if the clan's leader, D, revived in the future, he would not be able to shake the Battle Lion clan. Chapter 34-27. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios braised lion's head in brown sauce. Yo, this ancestor seems to have heard someone say braised lion's head in brown sauce. Where is it? This ancestor is drooling. Along with this abrupt voice, in the distant void, a figure wearing clothes whiter than snow quietly appeared. His hands were behind his back, and he had the air of a hedonistic young master. His face was pale, and the corners of his mouth outlined a cold and arrogant smile. His triangular eyes were filled with a fierce light, and they were tightly locked onto the 100,000 feet tall lion that was displaying its divine might in the void. It was none other than Yi Xian. Of course, his current appearance was that of the ancestor of the Demon clan, the young master of the Netherworld clan, Huan Ting. In the surrounding void, exclamations could be heard in an instant. Heavens, look who's here! The ancestor of the Demon clan, Huan Ting? He was actually not stopped by the ancestor of the Netherworld Turtle clan. This is too shocking. He was so arrogant before, calling himself ancestor in front of the late-stage universe realm elder of the Netherworld Turtle clan. He can still return calmly under such circumstances. Could it be that the ancestor of the Netherworld Turtle clan really invited him? That should be the case. Moreover, this revealed too much information. At least, the ancestor of the Netherworld Turtle clan has acknowledged his identity. Previously, he sent the patriarch of the Netherworld Turtle clan to personally welcome him. This is clearly the rhythm of treating him as an equal. Could this ancestor Huan Ting really be the young master of the extinct Netherworld clan from the primordial era? This is most likely the case. Moreover, the ancestor of the Netherworld clan is most likely on the same side as the ancestor of the Netherworld Turtle clan. This is a sign that they will join forces again in the future. The Demon clan has found a great backer. The situation seems to be chaotic. This is the Netherworld Turtle Sea. Although the Battle Lion clan is not afraid of the Netherworld Turtle clan, just like how their young patriarch bullied the Demon clan, the few supreme experts of the Battle Lion clan who have surpassed the universe realm are not here. If the ancestor Huan Ting goes crazy, the elder of the Battle Lion clan who is guarding the Black Fortress behind most likely will not dare to make a move. Otherwise, the Netherworld Turtle clan's living fossil will definitely take action. It seems that this battle should stop between the Lion House clan and the ancestor Huan Ting. It will not expand. Since it involves the universe realm god, it will be difficult to end it. The Battle Lion race's current generation genius against the Netherworld race's sealed young master? The two of them were separated by a period of time, but in this world, they started a great battle. This battle is unprecedented. Chi, Ba, Jiao, and the other members of the Demon clan were so excited that they cheered. With the return of the patriarch, our race will prosper. That's right. The ancestor of the Nether Turtle clan personally invited us, and we returned with gifts in the end. Our ancestor is mighty, and he must have formed an alliance with the Nether Turtle clan. This is our territory now. Ha! How satisfying. The Battle Lion race's lion dog actually dared to provoke my race in the Underworld Turtle Sea. Now he is stupefied. He actually kicked an iron plate. This is my territory, and I call the shots. I humbly request the Grand Ancestor to destroy the lion head. Patriarch Huan Ting, the #1 expert in the world. Enjoy immortal blessings forever and live as long as the heavens. Patriarch Huan Ting, punch and kick him. Lion-headed big dog crying bitterly. In the end, these praise-like slogans suddenly burst out again, and with a slight change, it was targeted at Lion Boffing who had manifested his blood lion true body. In the face of this shocking change, the atmosphere in the surrounding void froze in an instant. The unexpected return of the Demon clan's young master was too shocking. Previously, Some people suspected that he was detained by the ancestor of the Nether Turtle clan. After all, this person was too insolent before, and he actually disrespected the ancestor of the Nether Turtle clan, who was at the late-stage universe realm, and called himself the ancestor. In fact, the reason why the young patriarch of the Battle Lion race attacked the Shadow Devil race was not only because he couldn't stand the sight of the Shadow Devil race and wanted to make a name for himself in this battle, but also because he considered that Patriarch Huan Ting of the Shadow Devil race might not return. But at this moment, with the arrival of Yi Xian, this speculation was instantly shattered. The experts of the major forces who were watching the battle in the surrounding void all had their hearts in their throats, knowing that there would be a great battle. At this moment, with the arrival of Yi Xian, the Battle Lion race's young master, Lion Bofeng, also stopped his attack. Across thousands of miles in the void, he stared at Yi Xian, who was slowly walking in the void with his hands behind his back. He sneered and said, "Young Master Netherworld? That's me, Big Poodle. Don't think that you can avoid death by getting close to me. Today, you are destined to be made into a braised lion head by me." Yi Xian sneered as he replied with a sneer. Then, he unceremoniously waved his hand and pointed in the direction of Lion Bofeng. Xiao! A weak dark green light rushed out from between Yi Xian's eyebrows. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it traversed thousands of miles. In less than half a breath, it had already arrived in front of the 10,000-meter-tall lion. Immediately after, before anyone could recover from their shock, this weak and almost undetectable dark green light instantly soared. In the blink of an eye, it was already 3,000 meters tall, transforming into a terrifying dark green withered claw. Immediately after, the dark green light suddenly flashed and the withered claw disappeared. As for the head of the 10,000-meter-tall lion, it silently rolled down from its shoulder. Pfft! Walala! After the sound of a gushing waterfall, the sound of a gushing waterfall could be heard. From the neck cavity of the lion that had lost its head, a boiling hot blood soared into the sky, surging for 10,000 meters, and finally turning into a majestic rain of blood that sprinkled down into the void. This scene happened too quickly, catching everyone off guard. At this moment, along with the boiling rain of blood that soared into the sky, Yi Xian's voice that was filled with a strong sense of laziness suddenly rang out. Immediately after, the 3,000-meter-tall lion's head that was glaring angrily disappeared along with the blood lion's body that was spurting out scarlet blood from its neck cavity. Even the large amount of berserk lion's hot blood that was pouring down like rain in the void had disappeared without a trace. This was caused by Yi Xian activating the devouring system's forceful devouring ability. Although this blood slaughter lion could not be raised, its flesh and blood were extraordinary. The Battle Lion clan originally had the bloodline of the blood slaughter lion, and right now the young patriarch of the clan, Shi Bofeng, had even used his bloodline ability to manifest the third transformation of the berserk lion's true body. To Yi Xian, this flesh and blood was the best alchemy material. At this moment, after he used the devouring system to absorb it into his body, the berserk lion's true blood was immediately stored in a bottle-shaped spatial magic treasure. Even the headless berserk lion's body was stored in a large-capacity spatial magic treasure, which could ensure that it would not rot and the medicinal effect would not be lost. In the future, when he needed to use it, he could use it at any time. As for the huge berserk lion's head, Yi Xian had just said that he wanted to eat the braised lion's head. He was already drooling, so naturally, he would not go back on his word. The berserk lion's head was immediately thrown into the Shenong giant cauldron, and in the blink of an eye, it was roasted by the orange-red fire in the cauldron. With a wave of his hand, a braised lion's head that had shrunk to the size of 6,000 to 7,000 meters, like a small hill, with golden oil and sweat dripping down its surface, and the fragrance of meat assailing the nostrils, appeared in front of Yi Xian. Chapter 34:28. Gulp, gulp. Let me out. Damned Ling Huchong. There will be a day when this young master will suppress you. Woo. This is simply too much. This is absolutely intolerable. We, the young patriarchs of the top 10 clans in the second universe, are actually being raised here as great medicines. Ling Huchong, you will die a horrible death. Just you wait. One of the 3 invincible youths in the second universe, the Iron Blood Battle Lion, Shi Baofeng, is this young master's good friend. Soon, he will find you and suppress you. Bang, bang. Inside the Shenong cauldron, the young patriarch of the Yingji clan, Ji Jinghong, the young protagonist of the barbarian bull clan, Jin Haoyan, and the descendant of the greedy wolf clan, Lang Ganglai, who were imprisoned at the bottom of the volcano in the central region of the space inside the cauldron, were crazily shouting and roaring. Suddenly, A loud sound was heard, and a ferocious lion head that was 3,000 meters long fell from the sky, startling the four of them, and their roars came to an abrupt end. This is Heaven's lion head of Shi Baofeng? That's right. It's definitely him. This young master is good friends with him. How could I be wrong? This guy is too savage. He actually came to the second universe. Is this the rhythm of slaughtering the War Lion clan in one fell swoop? Look, he's setting fire again. Do you have to be so savage? He actually wants to eat braised lion head? Swish! Before the four of them could finish speaking, a large lion head that was shiny and fragrant flew through the air, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Gulp! Gulp! Only at this moment did Ji Jinghong and the other three realize that they had subconsciously swallowed their saliva. Moreover, all four of them were swallowing, without exception. The four of them were ashamed and resentful. They all turned around and hid in the corner of the cell. Their minds were in complete chaos. At the same time, in the Netherworld Turtle Sea, the young master of the War Lion clan, Shi Baofeng, and Yi Xian were engaged in a shocking battle. To be precise, it was the void where Yi Xian had cleanly beheaded him with a single claw. Gulp! Gulp, gulp. Although it had shrunk due to being roasted by the fire, it was still 6,000 to 7,000 feet in size. It was golden in color, and the aroma of meat wafted through the air. In the surrounding void, the fleets of the various major forces that were watching the battle from afar suddenly appeared. Immediately, a series of strange gurgling sounds were heard. Countless people gulped at this moment. This was a completely subconscious action. After all, Lion Baofeng's bloodline was extraordinary to begin with. Furthermore, he had activated his bloodline true form with the Bloodthirst Lion's bloodline ability and reached the third transformation. After being roasted by the orange-red flames of the farmer god cauldron, all the impurities were evaporated, leaving behind only the essence. This braised lion's head was not only delicious, it was also a great medicine. Once swallowed, one's cultivation would definitely skyrocket. It was simply too fragrant. Anyone who smelled it would be tempted. They couldn't help but swallow their saliva. It was to the extent that there seemed to be some whispers of suspicion that could be heard vaguely. Ha! Why is it so fragrant? It's not like this old man hasn't roasted the lion's head of the Battle Lion clan before. Back then, I had secretly hunted one. Although its bloodline is not as good as Lion Baofeng's, but the fragrance shouldn't be so different, right? What a familiar feeling. Another peerless foodie has appeared out of nowhere. He is definitely comparable to the peerless monster of the human clan, young Master Linghu. What's wrong with this world? Have they all been infected by young Master Linghu? That's definitely the case. That guy is a poison. Even though he has been banished to the turbulent void, his influence has been left behind. In the three great universes, who knows how many peerless foodies will be born in the future? Sigh, the clansmen of a race with extraordinary bloodlines in their bodies have to be careful in the future. They can't go out alone anymore, and they can't walk at night. There will be foodies who will attack them. Ha ha ha. Delicious. The most delicious food in the world. Previously, this young master thought that what meat was the most delicious in the world? I didn't expect there to be something even more delicious. This trip to the Dark Turtle Sea is really not in vain. Back in the Nether Turtle secret realm, I had a drink with the Nether Turtle ancestor Hai, who was already as large as a star, and it was so bland that birds could fall out of my mouth. Who would have thought that there would be a braised lion's head to go with the wine right away? Just as the experts of the major forces around were whispering in their hearts, Yi Xian had already arrived above the huge braised lion's head. He waved his hand to release an invisible force, wrapped up pieces of golden and shiny meat, and sent them into his mouth. As soon as they melted in his mouth, he almost swallowed his tongue in enjoyment. He almost spilled the beans and exposed his identity. In the end, he came to his senses and quickly changed his words. At the same time, he didn't forget to pull out the flag of the Dark Turtle ancestor and secretly warn him. After all, in the pitch-black starry sky fortress in the distance, there was still a mighty figure of the Battle Lion clan guarding it. Now, the young patriarch of the clan was slaughtered and even made into braised lion's head in public. As a mighty figure of the universe, it was impossible for this person to not do anything. Although Yi Xian was not afraid of him, in order to avoid an unnecessary battle to the death, he deliberately brought out the Dark Turtle ancestor to suppress the situation at this moment. After all, this was the Dark Turtle Sea, and Yi Xian had already brought out the Dark Turtle ancestor. Even if the other party was a mighty figure of the Battle Lion clan, he couldn't do anything. He should be able to accept it after saying a few harsh words and leaving. It could barely be considered a passable explanation. Regarding all this, Yin Qi, Yin Ba, Yin Jiu, and the other members of the Yin Demon clan were not in the mood to pay attention to it at all. With the arrival of the ancestor Huan Ting, all the worries in their hearts had completely disappeared at the first moment. In their view, the return of the ancestor Huan Ting was definitely the result of drinking and chatting happily with the Dark Turtle ancestor and forming an alliance. This meant that the entire Dark Turtle Sea was now their territory. Then, before they had time to digest the great joy in their hearts, the ancestor Huan Ting had already suddenly made a move. In an instant, he killed the young master of the Battle Lion clan, Shi Baofeng, who was raging and arrogant before, and roasted him into a shiny golden color in an instant. At this moment, with Yi Xian's call and the first to start eating, coupled with the enticing fragrance that kept entering their noses, these guys had long been unable to hold back. They swallowed their saliva crazily, and after cheering, they pounced at the same time. Although the braised lion's head was huge, in the face of more than 10,000 Yin Demon clansmen, it was really nothing. In the blink of an eye, more than 10,000 Yin Demon clansmen were like countless ants climbing on the body of an elephant. They all hung on this huge braised lion's head and ate heartily. In less than 10 breaths, half of the huge braised lion's head was eaten, revealing the eerie white bones. This scene stunned all the experts of the major forces who were watching the battle in the void. Shi Baofeng was too miserable, the Yin Demon clan was too ruthless, and the ancestor Huan Ting was too cruel. At the end of the battle, he actually roasted the enemy's head and turned it into a huge white skeleton. Everyone shuddered in fear. Ah! Chapter 34-29. Translator. Transin Editor. Transin Intimidate. Ah! How dare you kill our young master? Old thing, you will definitely die. Rumble. Previously, everything had happened too quickly. As such, the Battle Lion race's supreme expert couldn't react in time. As Lion Bofeng's dog head was roasted into a braised lion's head, he was petrified. He was too shocked. At this moment, in that pitch-black starry sky fortress in the distant void, an earth-shaking roar finally rang out. The mighty figure of the war lion race was so angry that he was about to go crazy. He roared and turned into a golden arrow light, rushed out of the fortress, and shot toward this side. In a short period of time, more than 10,000 Yin demons ate at the same time. The braised lion's head that was 6,000 to 7,000 feet long was not very edible. It had already turned into a huge skull, and not a single piece of meat was left. Yi Xian ate the most. His body was surging with energy, and the pores all over his body were overflowing with golden light. This was the sign that his flesh and muscles were being nourished by energy, and were overflowing with energy. In the distance, the voice that had muttered a few words earlier appeared again. Ah, strange. It actually has such terrifying medicinal effects? Could it be that the young master of the Battle Lion race is different? The ordinary lion that was roasted previously didn't even have 1/3 of the medicinal effects. Ah! Which bastard is it? Get out here. Get out here if you have the ability. The golden arrow light that was shooting towards Yi Xian paused for a moment. Then, the roar of the Battle Lion race's supreme elder could be heard. It was too infuriating. The Battle Lion race was ranked 3rd among the races in the second universe. They were one of the 3 strongest races since ancient times. They had always run amok in this plane. Today, his race members, including the young master, were being discussed about the medicinal effects of the meat. This made him feel as though he was about to explode. Ding! Congratulations to host. Physical body's chi and blood realm has increased. Current realm. Level 4 of the Grotto Heaven realm. Ding! Congratulations to host. Physical body's chi and blood realm has increased. Current realm. Level 5 of the Grotto Heaven realm. At this moment, the familiar sound of the system notifications sounded in Yi Xian's mind. After eating so much of the golden lion meat, his body was overflowing with golden light. The chi and blood in his body were boiling, and every cell in his body had been baptized. The effect of the orange-red fire was so good that it even attracted the attention of the hidden senior-level foodie. However, the benefits of Yi Xian's meal had already been revealed. His physical body's blood and chi cultivation had advanced 2 levels in a row, and the blood and chi in his body had increased explosively. Right now, he felt like he could blast apart a star with a single punch. Ah! The lion golden lion meat. Lion the dragon race's meat. Is the golden lion meat? Is there golden lion meat? Is there one is there? Is there? Another one? After receiving such a huge benefit, Yi Xian had no intention of hiding it. He raised his head and roared, revealing the fact that he had advanced 2 small stages. He even said that it was not enough. He wanted to roast another golden lion meat and directly push his cultivation from the heavenly passage realm to the 9th stage great perfection. This scene was too insolent. In the surrounding warships that were watching from the void, the exclamations of the powerhouses from the various major forces resounded endlessly. They were all lamenting the fact that a foodie had appeared in the second universe. This was not inferior to young Master Linghu's momentum. At the same time, there were also some people whispering that if they had known that the golden lion dog meat was so effective, they would not have waited until today. They would have hunted countless golden lion dogs for a sumptuous meal. At this moment, the dignified battle lion race was being treated as a meat medicine or a rare delicacy in this kind of situation. The golden arrow that was shooting toward Yi Xian spat out a mouthful of blood. The mighty expert of the battle lion race was so angry that he coughed up blood. This was too shocking. The mighty expert of the battle lion race was so angry that he coughed up blood. This made the starry sky powerhouses of the various major forces in the surrounding void sigh endlessly. They were even more afraid of this so-called ancestor Huan Ting of the Yin demon race. His mouth must have been smeared with poison. Just like young Master Linghu, he could infuriate people to death. Ha! Old lion dog, are you delivering blood to this ancestor? Unfortunately, it came from your mouth. It must be smelly. This ancestor has always been picky and does not like contaminated ingredients. If you are sincere, stretch out your neck and this ancestor will personally draw the blood. Look at you, you are so old that your hair is about to fall off. Your meat must be hard and not easy to chew. Only this blood can be used. If it is not smelly, it can be used to make medicine. Facing the mighty expert of the battle lion race who was about to reach him, Yi Xian was calm and fearless. He continued to ridicule him. Then, he rolled his eyes and kicked the huge skull in front of him, which had been eaten until there was not even half a piece of meat left. Hey, your young master, return it. There are still bits and pieces of meat on the inner wall of the skull. If you want to taste it, take it back to the fort and slowly dig it out. Bang! A huge explosion sounded. The white skull that was shot out was smashed into powder by the mighty expert of the battle lion race. Then, Yi Xian raised his hand again. A dark green claw that was hundreds of feet long appeared out of thin air above his head and suddenly slashed down. Netherworld claw? It is indeed a very sharp and terrifying bloodline power. The eyes of the mighty expert of the battle lion race flashed and a sinister smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. If you were a little stronger, even if you were only in the 12th realm of the void realm, this attack would be able to defeat this old man. Unfortunately, you are only in the 10th realm of the Grotto Heaven realm, level 5. No matter how powerful your power is, it is useless in front of a mighty expert of the universe realm. Demon bastard, die! With that last sentence, the body of the war lion race's supreme expert suddenly swayed. After dodging the 300-meter-long dark green withered claw at an extremely fast speed, he suddenly raised his hand and was about to slap down at Yi Xian. How dare you! Yi Xian's eyelids twitched wildly. At this time, escaping was absolutely impossible. Otherwise, the effect of the previous show of strength would be ruined. However, facing a mighty expert of the 15th realm of the universe realm, if he did not want to retreat, he would have to use other methods to force his opponent back. In this way, his identity would be exposed. In a moment of desperation, Yi Xian gritted his teeth and immediately took out the fragment of the ancient tortoiseshell that recorded the incomplete Dongshu scripture from the undying world in his body. Holding it in his right hand, he raised it high above his head. There was no fear on his face as he shouted loudly, "This old ancestor has been sealed for hundreds of millions of years. My cultivation has not recovered yet. The guardians of the netherworld are also still in hibernation. Otherwise, how could an old dog like you be so arrogant in front of me? But even so, if this old ancestor wants to restrain you, it is still a piece of cake. Don't forget whose territory this is. The old ancestor of the dark turtle race is this old ancestor's sworn brother. After drinking to our heart's content, we have already called each other brothers. You dare to touch this old ancestor in the ancestral land of the dark turtle race? This is that old tortoiseshell's natal tortoiseshell. The old tortoiseshell personally gave it to you. Do you dare to act rashly again? This old ancestor only needs to crush it lightly. The old tortoiseshell of the dark turtle race will instantly descend. He is a supreme expert who has surpassed the universe realm. Old lion dog, are you sure you want to pull him over for a chat? Chapter 3430. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The will of the turtle sea, rumble. As Xianxia subconsciously tightened his fingers and channeled a wisp of his vital energy into the ancient tortoise shell, a change that even he didn't expect suddenly occurred. A huge roar resounded, and the void shook. It was not just a corner of the void, but the entire vast star field of the nether turtle sea. At this moment, when Xianxia lightly pinched it and infused a wisp of qi and blood energy into the ancient tortoise shell, it began to shake in its entirety. Thousands of miles of the void shook, and countless stars swayed. This scene was like the end of the world. The universe was shaken, and the scene was so terrifying that all the masters in the surrounding void were stunned. The supreme master of the War Lion clan, who had turned into a golden arrow and shot toward Xianxia, trembled all over. He was so scared that he stopped 1,000 miles away. His face was filled with shock. Like all the experts in the surrounding fleets, their gazes converged on the ancient tortoiseshell fragment that Xianxia held between his fingers and raised high into the air. At this moment, no one doubted Xianxia's words. They were sure that this ancient turtle shell was the natal turtle shell of the nether turtle patriarch. This was really F***ed up. Who would have thought that this kid would really become sworn brothers with the nether turtle patriarch? What kind of existence was the nether turtle patriarch? Even the ordinary elders of the nether turtle clan were at the late stage of the universe realm, and the clan leader was a supreme master who had surpassed the universe realm. He was an ancestor of the clan. No wonder the entire star field of the nether turtle sea was shaken. This was clearly the result of the nether turtle patriarch's anger. Although there were many masters in the universe present, including the top forces of the 3 major realms, and more than 10 supreme masters of the universe realm, most of them were at the 3rd or 4th stage of the universe realm, which was the early or middle stage of the universe realm. Even if it was them, they had never seen such a scene in the past. The entire star field was shaking. This was definitely a terrifying method that surpassed the universe realm. It was simply unimaginable. Even Xianxia was dumbfounded. He was well aware that the words he said just now were just a bluff, and it was just to scare off the mighty figure of the battle lion race. He never expected that just by lightly moving his finger and injecting a weak wisp of qi and blood into the ancient tortoiseshell, it would actually cause such a change. The entire star field was shaking. Could it be that the tortoiseshell in his hand really had some other miraculous use? Rumble. An enormous rumble resounded once more, and then, an unimaginably enormous tortoise beast appeared in the air above the vast sea of nether turtles. Its body covered the entire nether turtle sea. Although it was not as terrifying as a real void tortoise that could cover an entire nether turtle sea with a wave of its claws, a turtle that was as big as the entire nether turtle sea was still extremely terrifying. It was far beyond the size of the nether turtle ancestor, whose head was as big as a star. The strange thing was that this terrifying giant tortoise was suspended above the nether turtle sea. Although it was huge, its body did not have a trace of flesh and blood. It was completely made up of gray tortoise bones. This was a nether turtle. A real nether turtle had no flesh and blood, only bones. Xianxia had sharp eyes and saw a hole smaller than the eye of a needle on the back of this terrifying nether turtle. The edge of the hole was exactly the same as the palm-sized ancient tortoiseshell in his hand. He instantly came to an understanding. This ancient tortoiseshell in his hand was obviously ripped off from the back of this terrifying nether tortoise. It ought to have come from the hands of this void tortoise, and it utilized this ancient tortoiseshell to brand the first 7 levels of the void dimension technique within it. But what was the identity of this nether turtle? With its body that was as big as a vast nether turtle and its aura that could shake an entire nether turtle ancestor, this gray-bone nether turtle was definitely far more powerful than the nether turtle ancestor. Its cultivation could no longer be measured by the universe realm. The so-called universe realm was clearly an ant in front of it. Except for the headless infant corpse and the great eye of the heavenly way that was suspected to be an avatar of the great path of heaven, this was the first time Xianxia had seen such a terrifying existence in reality. Even the weeping soul bloodhorn and the demonic dragon phantom were far inferior to it because they were incomplete and illusory. It was also at this time that the battle lion tribe's elders, Jianghu, the eyebrowless ancestor, Long Ziwen,
And nearly 10 other powerful figures of the universe realm in the surrounding void were stunned and muttered to themselves one after another.
Nether turtle? Ancient nether turtle. The legend is actually true. It's actually true. Legend has it that there was a period of time between the primordial age and the ancient age, called the primordial age. The creatures of the primordial age were all direct descendants of the primordial age. After the ancient age, the ancestors of the various races of the present world appeared. They are not direct descendants of the primordial age, but were born from the primordial age after a generation. For example, the Nether Turtle clan's true bloodline ancestor should be the primordial Nether Turtle, and the Void Turtle of the primordial age is the bloodline source of the primordial Nether Turtle clan. Legend has it that after the primordial Nether Turtle died in the early ancient age, its obsession did not dissipate and turned into the Nether Turtle Sea's star domain will to protect this star domain. I didn't expect that all of this was true. The primordial Nether Turtle has appeared, and this is the star domain will of the entire Nether Turtle Sea. Heavens, where did this kid come from? Is he just the young master of the Netherworld Great Emperor from the primordial age? If so, why would the Nether Turtle ancestor give this ancient turtle shell to him? How is this the Nether Turtle ancestor's life source shell? It is clearly the only life source shell of the primordial Nether Turtle's body. As soon as these words were spoken, Xianxia came to a realization. At the same time, he felt a little disappointed in his heart. It turned out that this was only the projection of the primordial Nether Turtle's obsession, and not its real body.
Otherwise, if he could capture this primordial Nether Turtle that was comparable to a star domain, he would definitely be able to do whatever he wanted in the 3 universes in the future.
However, it was better than nothing now.
With the protection of the star domain will of the Nether Turtle Sea, he would definitely be able to do whatever he wanted in this vast Nether Turtle Sea.
At the very least, this battle lion race expert in front of him could absolutely crush him with a raise of his hand. No wonder that old bastard Nether Turtle ancestor did not even leave a universe stage Nether Turtle clan elder to him. After all, there was no need for that at all. He was holding the only life source shell left behind by the primordial Nether Turtle before its body collapsed. In this star domain, he could summon the star domain will to descend at any time. He was simply invincible, so why would he need any guards? Wahahaha! That old bastard Nether Turtle ancestor is really too evil. He actually deceived this ancestor. It was clearly the life source shell of the primordial Nether Turtle, but he insisted that it was his. Chapter 34-31. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation specialized in treating all kinds of dissatisfaction. Come on, lion dog. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Come on, come and kill this ancestor. Do you believe me when I say I'll kill you? At this moment, Xianxia looked like a top profligate who deserved a beating. This was intentional. After all, his current identity was the young master of the Netherworld lineage. Before he was sealed hundreds of millions of years ago, he was already a profligate young master of the primordial era. Now that he had lived to this day, he naturally had the right to look down on everyone. However, his current appearance was indeed too hateful. In the fleets of the top forces from the 3 planes of the universe, countless masters of the universe were glaring at him, gnashing their teeth in hatred. This guy's face was really asking for a beating. Unfortunately, no one dared to beat him up no matter how much he asked for a beating. At this moment, the mighty figure of the war lion race was so stifled that his entire old face had turned purple. The aura around his body surged and he clenched his fists tightly. However, he stood in the void thousands of miles away and did not dare to make a sound. Although he was a mighty figure of the universe, he was no different from an ant in the face of the primordial underworld dragon's will projection that could cover the entire Nether Turtle starfield. When the primordial underworld dragon's true body completely collapsed in the early primordial era, the only piece of armor left behind was now in Xianxia's hands. This piece of armor was the switch that controlled the Nether Turtle starfield's will. Currently, Xianxia held the power to kill. In this starfield, he could directly destroy anyone he disliked. Yo, old lion dog, why aren't you making a sound? Why aren't you reacting to this ancestor's question? Are you deaf or mute? The mighty figure of the battle lion race didn't make a sound, but Xianxia didn't intend to let this go. In his opinion, a primordial era profligate like the Netherworld young master should be someone who wouldn't show mercy even if he was in the right. If the other party admitted defeat at this time, he would immediately let go of all previous enmity, which would instead arouse suspicion. They would think that he was guilty. Therefore, Yi Xian couldn't back down. The more it was like this, the more he had to beat the dog while it was down. Anyway, he had already killed the battle lion race's young master, roasted, and eaten. This enmity was too big to be resolved, so he didn't care to deepen it. It just so happened that he could also use this opportunity to ruthlessly beat up a universe almighty expert and help increase his despotic power.
Yeah.
Old man, you're still not saying anything? Are you insisting on going against this ancestor's rhythm?
You
old bastard. I specialize in curing all kinds of things you. As he spoke, Yi Xian rolled his eyes and instantly stepped forward.
With a few large strides, he arrived in front of the supreme being of the war lion race. He glanced at the latter, whose face was filled with vigilance, and raised his hand to point at the will projection of the ancient nether turtle that was floating above the entire star field.
He laughed sinisterly and said, "Look carefully, there's a super bastard up there staring at you. You old bastard, aren't you dissatisfied? This ancestor will now teach you how to be a human. No, it should be how to be a Pekingese. If he dares to fight back, kill him immediately." Yi Xian was practically roaring when he said the last sentence. He tightened his grip on the palm-sized ancient tortoiseshell and channeled another wisp of chi and blood energy into it. In an instant, the entire nether turtle star field shook slightly again. The war lion race's universe god realm expert's body trembled slightly. At this moment, he clearly felt that there was an indescribably terrifying and powerful aura that instantly locked onto his body. Not only the body but the soul as well. He did not know what kind of method this was, but the chi could even lock onto the primordial spirit. It was simply unheard of.
But there was one thing that he was extremely clear about, and that was if he dared make the slightest movement now, then he would immediately face the consequences of being obliterated in both body and soul.
Even teleportation or tearing through space to escape from this region of stars was impossible. There was no chance at all. If it was said that this war lion race's universe god realm expert was full of resentment towards Yi Xian before, then now, as his entire body and primordial spirit were locked onto by the will projection of the immemorial nether turtle that covered the entire nether turtle starfield, the only thing left in his heart was boundless fear and panic. An extremely strong sense of life and death crisis enveloped his mind. At this moment, the war lion race's universe god realm expert suddenly had a kind of enlightenment. Death. He had never been so close to him before.
As long as this hateful fellow in front of him who made the roots of his teeth ache thought about it, he would instantly be reduced to ashes and not even a strand of hair would be left behind.
He would be completely annihilated by the will projection of the immemorial nether turtle hanging above his head. Faced with this unprecedented life and death crisis, the war lion race's universe god realm expert did not even dare to move his body, for fear that the slightest movement would lead to disaster. Of course, more importantly, Yi Xian, who was only at the 10th level of the Grotto Heaven realm, was not much of a threat in his eyes. Even if he stood here and forcefully endured the other party's bombardment, at most he would be in a sorry state and suffer some minor injuries and lose face. Compared to being instantly obliterated by the will projection of the immemorial nether turtle hanging above his head, even a fool would know what to choose. Boom! Old lion dog, does it feel good? Yi Xian's figure shot in front of the war lion race's universe god realm expert and punched out, causing an explosion in the air. Although he was in the nether body state right now, it did not mean that he could not use his physical body's blood energy. The strength of this punch far exceeded the war lion race's universe god realm expert's expectations. It was definitely not something that a 10th level Grotto Heaven realm expert could achieve. One had to know that Yi Xian cultivated his physical body's blood energy, mental energy, and the void dimension technique. He also had the demonic dragon bloodline and the nether bloodline. With all of these combined, he already had the overall strength to fight across realms. Although it was not to the extent of crossing 2 realms and reaching the 12th level, the void dimension realm, it was definitely not below the mid-late stage of the 11th level, the mystic light realm. The war lion race's universe god realm expert was caught off guard and was immediately blasted to the point that his blood energy surged and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Of course, this was also the result of him not daring to use the energy in his body to resist. Otherwise, a mid-late stage mystic light realm expert wouldn't be able to injure a 15th level universe god realm expert and cause him to spit out blood. He'd long since seen that Yi Xian wanted to use him, the supreme expert of the universe, to establish his might and make him suffer some physical pain. Intimidated by the life and death crisis, the supreme expert of the war lion race could only grit his teeth and cooperate. He could only hope that this little bastard would achieve his goal and let him go after he was satisfied.
As long as he left this sea of nether turtles, the will projection of the immemorial nether turtle above his head would not be able to affect the outside world.
At that time, he would be completely safe. Chapter 34-32. That's him. Is this a dream?
I actually saw a universe realm expert being beaten up by a level 5 grotto heaven realm expert.
Not only did he not dare to fight back, he didn't even circulate his energy to defend himself. He was forcefully punched to the point of spitting out blood. This is too humiliating. This ancestor Huan Ting from the Yin Devil clan is too powerful. Not only does he have the Nether Turtle Sea's star domain will as his backer, but his own strength is also extraordinary. He is only at the 10th level of the Heavenly Passage realm, and even if universe immortals didn't resist, they still wouldn't be able to make him cough up blood. This is at least the battle prowess of a middle or late stage mystic light realm cultivator. This person has the strength to fight across realms. Is it another peerless monster?
This level of arrogance is indeed comparable to the invincible god of war and young master Linghu of the human clan.
He does have a foundation, and he himself is a peerless monster-level existence. This time, the races of the second universe finally have a peerless genius born. I wonder if the Tianji clan, the overlords of the first universe, will do the same.
Is this the golden age of the three universes coming together?
Luo Yunyang thought.
If this is really the case, then the battle that will break out soon will be extremely exciting.
It will shake the world since ancient times.
However, the theory of luck will fall into illusion. If the other two big planes also have peerless geniuses, then the theory that the human race will dominate this battle's luck will fall apart. The future is even harder to predict.
It's full of uncertainties.
We need to increase our cultivation as quickly as possible so that we can survive the upcoming war. Rumble!
Awu! Old lion dog, do you admit defeat or not? Boom!
Yi Xian did not hold back at all as the experts of various forces in the surrounding void cried out in alarm.
He kept punching and bombarding the War Lion clan's experts like sandbags. The War Lion clan's experts opened their mouths and spat out blood again. Their old face turned from purple to green. They were clearly angered to death.
There was no doubt that after this battle, even if the mighty figure of the War Lion tribe could survive, he would become the laughingstock of the three universes henceforth.
There had never been such an astonishing event.
A mighty figure of the universe in the 15th realm was bombarded like a rubber ball by an existence at the 5th level of the Tao Insight realm in front of countless masters of the starry sky.
Puff!
With another punch from Yi Xian, the War Lion clan's experts spat out blood. Lion clan's experts, War Lion clan's experts, War Lion clan's experts, War Lion clan's experts, War Lion clan's experts.
By now, the Lion clan's experts.
The War Lion clan's experts, Lion clan's experts, Lion clan battle, Lion clan's experts, Lion clan's experts, Lion clan's experts.
Perhaps it was a combination of both.
Not far away, in the void closest to where Yi Xian was bombarding the War Lion clan's experts, Yin Qi, Yin Ba, and Yin Jiao, the three elders of the Yin Demon clan, jumped up and stood in front of the tens of thousands of Yin demons like cheerleaders.
They waved their hands and led the way.
Soon, countless experts, War Lion clan's experts, War Lion clan's experts, Lion clan's experts, Lion clan's experts were shouting and waving their hands to lead the way.
War Lion clan ancestor, #1 in the world.
Enjoy immortal blessings forever and live as long as the heaven.
War Lion clan ancestor, punch and kick.
Lion-headed dog, cry bitterly. He was a War Lion clan's expert at the 15th level of the world realm.
How could he endure such a scene when he was being beaten up by a cheerleader?
As the shameless slogans came from the void not far away, the Chenkuan tribe elder of the battle lion race really wanted to cry. He really wanted to cry on the spot without a single shred of snot flowing out of his nose. In 3 different directions, Shenyuan Ziying, Duanmu Xiaocha, and Zhao Qianru, who were originally in their respective big fortresses, took advantage of the fact that the clan elders were not paying attention and slipped out. They rushed out of the big fortresses and converged in one direction like telepathy. Not long after, the 3 girls stood still in the void not far away from the battle circle. Their faces were full of suspicion as they stared at Yi Xian, who was cursing and beating up the War Lion clan's experts. Their eyes were as sharp as knives, as if they were going to dissect Yi Xian from the inside out. According to my analysis, the probability is at least 70%.
Zhao Qianru's face was filled with mystery as she stared fixedly at Yi Xian, who was in the air in front of her. She lowered her voice and whispered to Xianxia and Duanmu Xiaocha. You all know that it's impossible for that guy to be banished to the turbulent void. He has too many tricks up his sleeve, so this definitely won't happen. Since then, there has been no news of him, and a netherworld young master has appeared in the second universe. This is too strange. Don't forget, this guy said when he was in the heavenly battle starfield that he would come to the second universe to wreak havoc. Speaking of this, Zhao Qianru curled her lips and said, Tisk, isn't this the right thing to do? No, Sister Qianru, you're wrong. Duanmu Xiaocha immediately shook her head and said, the probability of 70% is too low. In my opinion, the probability of that guy in front of us being him is at least 85%, or even as high as 90%. Haven't you noticed? This style is simply carved out of the same mold. He is not forgiving when he is in the right, and even more so when he is in the wrong. This kind of thing, other than this blind idol of mine, is there any other living person who can do it? Besides, this foodie's virtue is simply a carbon copy. There is absolutely no doubt about it. There is more than 80% chance that it is him. As soon as Duanmu Xiaocha finished speaking, the purplish warbler covered her mouth and chuckled. She shook her head and sighed. It seems that the two of you don't know him very well. What do you mean by 70% or 85%? In my opinion, there is a 100% chance that it is that big bastard. At this point, Xianxia rolled her eyes and stealthily pointed her finger at the empty space in front of her. She patted her chest and said with certainty, if you don't believe me, just watch. After this guy gives that guy a good beating, he'll definitely use the same old trick again. He'll either ask for compensation for his hard work or medical fees. He won't see if that guy is coughing up blood, but he's definitely sprained his wrist after beating him up for so long. He'll definitely clamor for compensation. Hearing this, Duanmu Xiaocha and Zhao Qianru were shocked and gasped. It can't be? So shameless? My goodness, Ziying, you know him very well. But if this is the case, can we still say that we know him when we go out in the future? Before the two of them could finish speaking, Yi Xian, who was indeed a little out of breath from the beating, suddenly sneezed. He stopped moving, rubbed his nose, rolled his eyes, and glared at the war lion race's supreme expert, who had a bloody nose and a swollen mouth. What are you looking at? I sprained my wrist in order to cure you. How are we going to calculate the medical fees? You tell me yourself. Chapter 34-33. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Subduing Others with Virtue. Young Master Netherworld, don't go too far. The Battle Lion Tribe Elder, who had been holding back his anger after being beaten by Yi Xian, finally couldn't take it anymore. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression instantly turned ferocious as he glared fiercely at Yi Xian. He gritted his teeth and said, "This is too much. Our leader won't self-destruct. Even if he dies, he'll definitely drag you down with him." He was so angry that he couldn't take it anymore. It was bad enough that a mighty figure of heaven and earth was beaten up by Yi Xian in public, but he still wanted to blackmail him. Couldn't you find another excuse to blackmail him? He even said that he sprained his hand and wanted to pay for his medical fees. What the F***ck? A mighty figure of heaven and earth was so angry that he spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Who was he going to find to pay for this? Oh my! Your temper is rising. But it's understandable. It's normal for you to be angry after being beaten up. But why is your IQ dropping so quickly? Yi Xian was calm and unafraid. He was still sarcastic, and his words were full of mockery and ridicule. This ancestor remembers that I didn't hit your head just now. Could it be that you were so angry that you broke it? Humph, with this super bastard above us, the entire sea of nether turtles is under our control. You want to self-destruct as a mere mighty figure of heaven and earth? Do you think that's possible? You! The Battle Lion Tribe Elder's face turned green again. He squeezed out a word with great difficulty, but he couldn't finish it. With the projection of the primordial nether turtle's will above him, he didn't even have the chance to self-destruct. He was just trying to scare Yi Xian and put up a strong front. Now, it seemed that it was useless. This guy was indeed from the primordial age and had seen much of the world. If he wasn't a Grotto Heaven Realm Jr., the self-destruction of a mighty figure of heaven and earth wouldn't scare him at all. At this point, the Battle Lion Tribe Elder was completely defeated. He didn't dare to bargain with Yi Xian anymore. He could see that this guy was tired of beating him up and didn't intend to do anything else. Now, he just wanted to get some reward for his hard work. It would be fine if he was the Battle Lion Tribe Elder. Since this old, the Battle Lion Tribe Elder Translation. The Battle Lion Tribe Art Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Lion. The Battle Lion Tribe Elder was still N.S. the Lion Tribe Elder. The Lion Battle Lion Tribe was the Lion Dragon Tribe Elder Translation. The lion was Wuxia realm? Elder in translation. Translation. Come.
After all, there were so many fleets in the Sea of Nether Turtles right now, and all the top-rate powers of the 3 dimensions of the universe had gathered here.
With his current reserves, who couldn't he plunder? With that thought in mind, the Jianghu tribe elder from the Battle Lion tribe cowered. The ferocious look on his face disappeared. Although he was still expressionless, he did not dare to put up a strong front. Even his voice had become much weaker. Fine, I admit defeat. Tell me, what do you want? F***ck your mother. Yi Xian was immediately infuriated. The other party's attitude of giving alms made him quite unhappy.
He glared and said, "This old man was deliberately tactful and said that it was medical expenses."
You old lion dog. You actually don't know how to appreciate favors. If you continue to dawdle, do you believe that this old ancestor will directly detain you and then send someone to your Battle Lion tribe to ask for a ransom? Kidnapping. F***ck. The War Lion race's Universe Supreme being really couldn't hold it in, and a mouthful of old blood spurted out. If he gave it up now, on the surface, it was to compensate for the medical expenses, which was barely acceptable.
However, if this fellow really shed all pretense of cordiality and directly detained him and sent someone to the tribe to ask for a ransom, then he really wouldn't have the face to continue living.
A dignified Universe Supreme being, the elder of the Battle Lion race in the second universe, was actually kidnapped and extorted for a ransom. This was definitely unprecedented and unheard of in history. This old ancestor's patience is limited. I'll give you 3 minutes to pay for the medical expenses. As for the specific standards, that will depend on your sincerity. Since he had already spoken, Yi Xian had no more scruples. He immediately waved his hand. If this old ancestor is satisfied, you can turn around and scram. Otherwise, that bastard up there has been bored for a while. It's time to let it exercise its muscles and bones. This was a blatant threat. Either he gave enough, or he would directly kill it if it was not enough. The War Lion race's Jianghu race's body trembled. Everything that happened today made him doubt his life. It was too painful. Whoosh! As the War Lion race's Universe Supreme being gnashed his teeth, a small spacebox was shot out by the War Lion race's Universe Supreme being toward Yi Xian. The latter caught it and used his divine sense to investigate it. Immediately, he beamed with joy. As expected of a Universe Supreme being, he was too rich. Although this small spacebox was not eye-catching, there were many things inside. There were all kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, as well as rare minerals. Among them, there were even some precious medicines needed to concoct level 14 and 15 liquids, which could even be used to refine great medicines of heaven and earth with a Shenong cauldron. As for other kinds of magic treasures, there were countless battle weapons, armors, and small private warships, as well as some other treasures with special purposes. In addition, there were also many cultivation resources. Yi Xian saw more than 30 level 9 colored star core origins. Although he did not care about these things and still had a few cubic meters of them, to an ordinary star sky expert, they were definitely top-notch resources. As expected of a Universe Supreme being. Although the resources in this small spacebox could not compare to the resources in the Black Wind Scout Fortress, it was still about 30% to 30% of the total. Even to Yi Xian, it was a windfall. This old man was not an ordinary person who was afraid of death. In order to buy his life, he probably took out at least half of the cultivation resources in his hands. That's right. We are all civilized people. If you hurt someone, as long as you are willing to pay for the medical expenses, we can still be good friends. With a flip of his hand, Yi Xian kept the small spacebox in his undying world. Immediately, his expression changed into a smile. This old ancestor has always won people over with virtue. Old friend, take care, I won't see you out. Although these words were infuriating,
To the Qianquan tribe elder of the Battle Lion tribe, it was no different from the sound of an immortal from the outer realm. He snorted coldly, turned around, and rushed into the pitch-black starry sky fortress behind him. With this snort, Yi Xian's anger was ignited again. Originally, he really wanted to let the other party go. Who would have thought that this fellow would not learn from his beatings? Before he even left the Sea of Nether Turtles, he actually put on a straight face and even dared to snort? As these thoughts flashed through his mind, Yi Xian's face immediately darkened. He said in a sarcastic tone,
"If you want to leave, then leave. Why did you come to this ancestor's starry sky fortress? Hurry up and get rid of all the Pekingese inside. Leave the fortress behind.
This ancestor finds it pleasing to the eye and keeps it for fun." In other words, this was clearly the rhythm of extorting 100,000 meters of starry sky fortress from the other party.
A second ago, he was still talking about using virtue to win people over. This scene had long stunned the experts of the various powers in the surrounding void. At the same time, they suddenly had a bad premonition in their hearts. Chapter 34-34. Translator, Transin Editor, Transin Translator, Transin Editor. Transin. Although space battleships and other technological elements of the human race had been popularized in the Second Universe for a long time, space battleships were imported goods to the various races of the Federation of the Second Universe. They did not have powerful research and development abilities. Therefore, although they could build some planetary-level battleships with a length of 1,000 meters and star-level battleships with a length of 3,000 meters, they could build them. Even the top 10 races of the Federation of the Second Universe could build small fortresses with a diameter of 5,000 meters and large fortresses with a diameter of 10,000 meters. They had long obtained starship construction assembly lines from the human race through the Wan Luo Federation. However, small fortresses with a diameter of 50,000 meters and large space fortresses with a diameter of 100,000 meters could only be imported. Even the top 10 races of the Second Universe did not have many space fortresses with a diameter of 100,000 meters. Each race only had about 20 of them, and all of them were guarded by powerful beings of the universe. Even the 14th realm, the Cosmic Light Realm, did not have the qualifications to be allocated one. Therefore, for the Battle Lion race, this pitch-black Black Lion space fortress was definitely an important resource. It belonged to this powerful being of the Battle Lion race. Without a doubt, once he handed it over, this powerful being of the Battle Lion race would no longer have a space fortress. Even if he could get another one in the future, he would have to pay a heavy price. The relationship between the human race and the various races of the Federation of the Second Universe was tense. For this kind of strategic resource, the export of it would definitely be very strict. Even so, the meat that should be cut had to be cut. In the end, the enraged Battle Lion race's Qianquan race's elder stepped out of the Black Lion Starry Sky Fortress with a large number of Battle Lion race's clansmen following behind him with their tails between their legs. They left the Nether Turtle Sea's star region with their tails between their legs. Along the way, whether it was the Battle Lion race's Qianquan tribe elder or the large number of Battle Lion race clansmen following behind him, none of them made a sound because the terrifying giant tortoise projection above their heads could still be seen. Not long after they had completely left the star field of the Nether Turtle Sea, the Battle Lion race's Qianquan tribe elder raised his head and let out a roar. "Roar! Little bastard of the Netherworld, you have gone too far. My Battle Lion race will definitely not let this matter rest. You think you can do whatever you want just because you control the will of the Sea of Hellish Turtles? Our race naturally has a way to resolve this matter. Just wait and see." Roar! Amidst his roars, the Battle Lion race elder and many Battle Lion race Atlas Studios editor, David Hua Luo David Absolute, at the same time in the Sea of Hellish Turtles. After the War Lion race's Qianquan race elder left with a large number of War Lion race clansmen behind him, Yi Xian immediately waved his hand and stored the empty Black Lion into his undying world. Yi Xian truly didn't have the ability to keep the other party here. Of course, this referred to the situation where he didn't use the Headless Infant's corpse, the Thunder Emperor's seal, the Fallen Sky Bow, and other powerful divine abilities and treasures from the primordial era. Just by relying on the primordial Netherworld Turtle's will projection above his head, he would not be able to kill the Battle Lion race elder. Not long after the other party left, Yi Xian tried to communicate with the will of the ancient Nether Turtle that was floating above his head and covered the entire Nether Turtle starfield. He wanted the other party to take advantage of the fact that the War Lion race was far away and kill him from afar. Unfortunately, the response he received disappointed him greatly. The primordial netherworld turtle's will projection only protected the life armor in Yi Xian's hand. It did not care about anything else. In other words, even if Yi Xian had the life armor, the primordial netherworld turtle's will projection would not care even if Yi Xian threatened it. If Yi Xian was forced into a corner and wanted to destroy the life armor, the primordial netherworld turtle's will projection might destroy him first. This result caused cold sweat to appear on Yi Xian's back.
He hurriedly put away the nether turtle life armor in his hand, afraid that if it fell and broke, the will projection of the primordial nether turtle would fight him to the death. Fortunately, only he was aware of all of this, and it was because he'd received a strand of the consciousness of the nether turtle's projection. Everyone else was completely unaware of this, otherwise, he would probably immediately become a rat that was despised by everyone in this nether turtle sea. Without the threat of the primordial nether turtle's will projection, the masters in the fleets of the top forces from the 3 realms of the universe would definitely attack him because he had already incurred the wrath of the masses. But now, Yi Xian realized that the trump card in his hand was actually just a vase. After looking at it but not being of use, Yi Xian immediately had other thoughts in his mind. He would be a bastard if he did not take advantage of the situation. He had to take advantage of the fact that these guys had not found out the truth and the deterrent effect of the life armor in his hand was still there.
He had to take action immediately. He had to take advantage of these guys first. Otherwise, once he was exposed, he would not have the chance to take advantage of them. He would regret it forever. In any case, his current identity was that of the patriarch of the Devil race, young Master Netherworld. Even if he incurred the wrath of the heavens and the resentment of the people, he could just leave and no one would know who he was. The Devil race would take the blame. Thinking like this, Yi Xian raised his head to look at the sky. Because he'd already put away his life-bound tortoise shell, the will projection of the ancient nether turtle that was slowly fading away. He turned around and looked at the fleets of the various powers in the surrounding space. He cleared his throat, put his hands behind his back, and immediately said in a strange tone, "Fellow Taoists, this patriarch has always won people over with virtue. It can be said that I have a compassionate heart."
Speaking of this, he saw that the nearby fleets had begun to retreat one after another.
It was as if they couldn't afford to provoke them, but they could still avoid them. His face immediately sank, and there was a look of displeasure on his face. Then he continued, "The Nether Turtle's Sea is a mixed bag of good and bad people. Don't be fooled by the fact that you have a lot of people. As the saying goes, you may know a person for a long time, but you may not know who is who. It is very possible that there are bandits in this place. Originally, this matter had nothing to do with this patriarch, but this patriarch has always been compassionate and compassionate. It just so happens that the Nether Turtle Sea's will is a friend who has gone through thick and thin with this patriarch. How can this patriarch stand idly by when bandits are happening here? So, don't panic. I don't dare to say anything else, but as long as this patriarch is still alive, and as long as you haven't stepped out of this Nether Turtle Sea, this patriarch will take care of the safety of all of you. I will absolutely not allow any accidents to happen to you.
Come, little 7, little 8. You lead the old bastards in the clan to register the surrounding fellow Taoists.
This is for their safety." Chapter 34-35. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. This young man is so fair. Protection fee? For everyone's safety? Persuading people with virtue. I really admire your mother. After hearing Yi Xian's words, the experts from the various great powers in the surrounding fleets from the 3 great universes were stunned for a moment. Then they were all enraged. All of them glared at Yi Xian fiercely, as if they would never submit. Although the universe realm expert from the Battle Lion race was in a miserable state, he deserved it. He was courting death by provoking the Demon clan. He deserved to end up like this.
However, the experts of the various forces in the surrounding fleets were all innocent.
They had nothing to do with the Devil clan or this shameless netherworld young master. If they were blackmailed by him even like this, they really couldn't swallow their resentment. How could he have the face to say that it's fine if it's just a little bit and use the compensation standard of that universe realm elder from the Battle Lion race? He had been blackmailed with a small space box of cultivation resources and a fortress with a diameter of 100,000 meters. With such a standard, some of the fleets in the surrounding void couldn't even take out such a standard.
Some of the powers had come with 10,000-meter-long fortresses or even 3,000-meter-long ordinary stellar-level battleships to join in the fun.
According to that standard, Even if they pawned the underwear of all the experts in the fleets, they still wouldn't be able to gather enough. Besides, why should they pay a protection fee for no reason? Right now, there were over 100 great forces in the surrounding void. Could it be that the Netherworld young master could annihilate all of them in a fit of rage? If that was the case, he would never think of leaving the Netherworld Turtle Sea again. He would just hide here and live out the rest of his life. Once he went out, he would be suppressed immediately. He had offended all the top powers in the 3 universes. How could he survive outside? With that in mind, all the experts in the fleets immediately shut their mouths. At this moment, they absolutely could not be the first to stand out. That guy was probably thinking of making an example out of the unlucky one to set an example for the rest. Because of this, the few fleets that were retreating quickly and wanted to leave this dangerous place as soon as possible all stopped as if they had agreed. They couldn't run at this time, or they would immediately be targeted. For a time, the entire expanse of space was so silent that a pin drop could be heard, and the atmosphere was strange to the extreme. Seeing this, Yi Xian's expression immediately darkened. Looks like they aren't giving me any face at all. Could it be that they really think that the law won't punish the majority and I won't be able to do anything about it? Wasn't it just to catch a bird that stuck its head out and kill the chicken to warn the monkey? This ancestor has plenty of ways to complete this matter reasonably. I will definitely not allow anyone to find fault with it, lest this group of people find fault and come together to seek revenge, which will mess up the situation. Thinking like this, Yi Xian sneered inwardly, but his expression remained unchanged. He slowly turned his head and swept his gaze over the starry sky masters around the fleets. Suddenly, he saw 2 familiar figures next to the fleet of the immortal army from the dynasty. The imperial family's elder, Long Ziwen, and the eldest prince, Long Xiang. Among the 5 princes, Long Xiang was originally the one with the greatest chance to become the crown prince of the dynasty. Ever since Prince Xian was sent to the Death Master Starfield, he was the most active of the 5 princes. Previously, when he went to the Heavenly Battle Starfield, Yi Xian, using the identity of young Master Linghu, had beaten him into a pig's head. He didn't expect this guy to be so thick-skinned. The swelling on his head had probably just disappeared not long ago, but he actually ran to the Netherworld Turtle Sea of Universe 2. He clearly wanted to seize the primordial treasure Yen Luo, so that he could use it as a bargaining chip to obtain the crown prince of the dynasty in the future. It's him. Thinking of this, Yi Xian's lips curled up. He raised his hand and pinched his thumb and middle finger, then winked at the eldest prince, Long Xiang, who was in the distant void. Then he smiled charmingly and said softly, "This little brother's face is so fair. Come, I like people with fair skin the most. I met one before, but I didn't expect to be so disappointing. It's rare to meet a little brother again. Come, this ancestor serves. No, I should treat you to a drink." As he spoke, he raised his hand and waved at the eldest prince, winking at him. "Oh my God!" The latter was caught off guard and was so frightened that he cried out for his mother on the spot. He almost fell on his butt in the void. His face turned green in an instant, full of horror. How could this perverted old monster be up to no good when he called him over? What, treating him to a drink? It was simply nonsense. He couldn't wait to blurt it out. He was obviously going to serve the hole behind him. The example of Hongdo Lifeng was still in front of him. That was the result of him directly poking the hole until it cracked. When he thought of that result, half of Long Xiang's soul flew away. His face turned from green to white in an instant. He looked at the imperial elder, Long Ziwen, with a sad face. With tears streaming down his face, he begged bitterly, Ancestor Ziwen, save me, save me." In the face of this unexpected scene, the imperial elder Long Ziwen was also dumbfounded. Then, his face became incomparably gloomy, but he didn't say anything for a while. He was secretly calculating and analyzing in his heart. Yi Xian suddenly pointed his spear at Long Xiang. Did he really take a fancy to his soft skin and tender flesh, or did he do it on purpose? His goal was to provoke a dispute and make an example out of him. If it were another time in another place, this kind of thinking and consideration would naturally be unnecessary. However, it was different now. The old monster opposite was too strong. Even the star domain's will of the entire sea of hellish turtles was in his hands. Even with Long Ziwen's almighty means, he couldn't jump around at all. Didn't he see the local tyrant of the second universe, the Chenkuan elder of the battle lion race, which was ranked 3rd among the various races of the Federation, being dealt with so miserably? Long Xiang was the eldest prince of the dynasty, so he naturally had to be saved. However, it was also because of this that he had to be more cautious. In the face of the current situation, if he wanted to put on airs as an almighty in the universe, it would definitely not end well. It didn't matter if he, Long Ziwen, was beaten up and lost face. However, if he really allowed the eldest prince of the dynasty to be toyed with by that old pervert, the entire immortal dynasty's reputation would be swept to the ground. That would be a great sin. Thinking of this, Long Ziwen's eyes couldn't help but flash. At this moment, he had even prepared for the worst. If it really couldn't be done, even if he had to personally kill Long Xiang on the spot, he definitely couldn't let the old monster toyed with him. Although it would also be a great loss of face, at least the dynasty's reputation would be preserved. This flash of light from the bottom of Long Ziwen's eyes was coincidentally seen by Long Xiang, who was pulling on his lapel and pleading. He knew this patriarch Ziwen very well. At the same time, as the imperial prince of the immortal dynasty, Long Xiang and Long Ziwen's perspective on this matter were basically the same. Therefore, he immediately understood the meaning of this flash of light. In an instant, a deep sense of despair surfaced in Long Xiang's heart. He didn't want to die. Chapter 34-36. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. What a pain in the ass. For Long Xiang, this was too much for him to accept. His future was definitely limitless. Soon, he would be able to obtain the position of crown prince of the dynasty. How could he die prematurely? Because of something that no one else could talk about. He was unwilling. He was on the verge of being driven mad. He was on the verge of hysteria. The rims of his eyes had instantly turned blood red. Since Patriarch Z1 was unreliable and he had prepared for the worst, he could just kill him on the spot to protect the reputation of the imperial dynasty. Then, he could only rely on himself. With bloodshot eyes, Long Xiang looked around, trying to find a way to divert this disaster. Hong Do and Lai Feng's miserable state had left too deep an impression on him. He had never considered the possibility that this abnormal old monster was deliberately stirring up trouble, using this opportunity to find a bird that stood out and kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Even if he had considered it, he did not dare to gamble. This concerned his own life. Therefore, he would rather believe that the old monster in front of him really liked fair and clean people because this was his only hope. If the old monster really liked fair and clean people, then with so many starry sky experts in the surrounding void, wouldn't it be possible to find someone more pleasing to the old monster's eyes than him? If it was in the past, he, who liked to put on a pretentious and benevolent image, would naturally not do such a thing in front of so many powerhouses. But now, he couldn't care less about it at all. His bloodshot eyes quickly swept over the three girls, the purplish warbler, Duanmu Xiaocha, and Zhao Qianru, who were not far away. The three girls were all devastatingly beautiful women. Naturally, they were many times fairer and more pleasing to the eye than him. However, this perverted old demon seemed to have a liking for men. He wondered if he would fancy these three girls. Long Xiang was nervous, but he could not care less. He had to take a gamble. He immediately raised his hand and pointed at the three girls, the purplish warbler and Duanmu Xiaocha, and shouted, "Patriarch, if you want to talk about fair and clean, how can I be as fair and clean as those three? Look, her skin is as tender as jade, and her skin is as smooth as cream. That's the best." The expressions of old man Shen Yuan, the representatives of the Duanmu family, and Bodhi biogenetics changed drastically when they heard this. Their gazes were filled with hostility. First Prince, what is the meaning of this? This is too much. That's right. You are so shameless. You are a direct descendant of the dynasty. How dare you do this in front of the elites from the top factions of the three universes? Patriarch Z1, I don't think it's appropriate. The imperial family should give us an explanation. Long Ziwen's face instantly turned gloomy, but he didn't say anything. Instead, a glimmer of hope appeared in his heart. He subconsciously looked at the void where the purplish warbler, Duanmu Xiaocha, and Zhao Qianru were. The three girls were absolutely stunning. Any man would be tempted by them. However, the old monster opposite them seemed to like Long Xiang. He wondered if this plan would work. That was right. Although Long Xiang's plan was unkind and would more or less cause the immortal dynasty to be criticized behind their backs, it was not a serious matter. After all, it would be resolved with a little explanation. It was better than letting the first prince of the imperial family be humiliated or killed in front of everyone. Therefore, even in Long Ziwen's heart, he actually agreed with Long Xiang's plan. How could he care so much when it was a matter of life and death? Seeing his reaction, old man Xianyuan, the leader of the Duanmu family, and the representative of Bodhi biogenetics were so angry that their faces turned green. Their chests were heaving up and down. Even Patriarch Long Ziwen, who led the team from the dynasty, had this idea. What else could they say? Even if they could complain to the dynasty about this, they could not continue to reprimand him.
Moreover, their hearts were in their throats at this moment.
That perverted old demon was indeed lustful. This had already been proven. That cracked part of Hong Do's Liefeng's body was proof. However, a pervert with lustful desires might not necessarily dislike women. Those three girls were so fair and attractive. If the old guy was really moved by them. Thinking of this, old man Xianyuan and the other two felt their hearts twitch. They looked at the void where Yi Xian was standing in horror. At the same time, Purplish Warbler, Duanmu Xiaocha, and Zhao Qianru did the same. They looked at Yi Xian with cold smiles and actually took the initiative to talk to him.
"Oh, Patriarch Huan, is it? You're very hospitable.
You're an existence who lived from the primordial age to the present.
Since you like to drink so much, could it be that your father also made some spiritual wine from the primordial age and sealed it with you and kept it until today?"
That's good stuff. Are you really going to let others taste it? Of course we are. The three of us are girls. I guess we don't meet your requirements? But since we're so fair and clean, why don't you make an exception and let us drink a pot of wine? Since you didn't say anything, we'll take your silence as a yes. We're coming.
Sisters, let's go.
As they spoke, the three girls' figures flashed, and their faces darkened as they shot toward the void where the Een Demon Clan's camp was located. This scene was too strange, and it stunned all the experts in the surrounding void. The expressions of old man Xianyuan, clan master Duanmu, and the person in charge of Bodhi biogenetics changed drastically. Their entire minds were completely dumbfounded at this moment. They didn't know what the three girls were doing all of a sudden. Looking at their attitude, it seemed that they couldn't wait to jump into that perverted old demon's 9 dragons Azure Phoenix chariot and let him play with it.
As for the first prince, Long Xiang, who had been thinking about whether or not his plan would succeed, he opened his mouth wide in surprise. His face was filled with shock as he muttered to himself,
Is this prince hallucinating? As for Yi Xian, he was defeated in an instant. When he subconsciously turned his head and met the eyes of the three girls, Yi Xian's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly had a bad feeling.
And now, as the words of these three girls came out of their mouths, it completely confirmed the guess in his heart.
Damn it! Do these three girls really have the same nose as a dog's? This young master already has the netherworld physique. How could they still recognize me? Of course, it didn't matter if they recognized him, but the key was that he had promised last time that the next time they met, he would definitely refine their armor a second or even third time. Unfortunately, he did not have the time to fulfill this promise. The materials and armor for the last 2 times were still in Yi Xian's undying world. Looking at the three girls, it was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. If he could not complete the task this time, he was afraid that they would come to settle the score with him. Thinking of this, Yi Xian subconsciously shrunk his neck. He turned around and hid in the 9 dragons Azure Phoenix chariot behind him. Sorry, this ancestor is feeling a little unwell. I need to rest for a while. When they saw this scene, Shenyuan Ziying and the other 2 girls who quickly arrived immediately started teasing him. Feeling a little unwell? Ancestor, are you okay? Qu'est-ce? You're feeling unwell after seeing us 3 beauties. Ancestor, your behavior is very suspicious. Chapter 34-37. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Old Bastard. How dare you? Bang, bang. When Yi Xian heard the 2 words, he felt his vision go dark. He almost fell down from the 9 dragons Cyan Phoenix carriage. These 3 girls seemed to hold a deep grudge against him. They were even more ferocious than before. No, this time, he couldn't fool them, otherwise, something big would definitely happen. Fortunately, their armor had only been refined once before. Even if he refined it twice now, it wouldn't take much time. I just need to ask them to wait outside for a while. However, this matter is too strange. I have to explain it. Otherwise,
The experts of the various forces in the void will be suspicious.
It will be troublesome if I ruin it. Although Yi Xian didn't turn around, his voice was loud and clear. 3 beauties. Please wait for a while. This ancestor's 9 dragons Scion Phoenix carriage is a little messy. 3 beauties. I can't be rude and make a fool of myself. Please wait for a while.
I'll clean it up right away. Hearing this, the experts in the fleets of the various forces in the void suddenly understood.
Disdain appeared on their faces. This old man is really bad. He kills both men and women. Moreover, he seems to be even more impatient when it comes to women. When he saw the 3 beauties coming to him, he was afraid that the mess in the carriage would make the beauties unhappy. He actually hurriedly went inside to clean up first. Only old man Shen Yuan, clan master Duanmu, and the person in charge of Bodhi biogenetics were anxious like ants on a hot pot. They couldn't wait to rush over and snatch the 3 purplish warbler girls back. Unfortunately, they didn't dare to do that. Because if they did, they would be the ones who stood out. They were afraid that they would be killed on the spot by that temperamental perverted old demon as a warning to the rest. In addition, in another void, the elder of the Heaven Battle Emperor clan, Jianghu, frowned and subconsciously exchanged glances with the ancestor next to him. The latter's eyes flashed. Although he didn't say anything, he raised his hand and pinched his fingers to calculate. His bald eyebrows were tightly knitted. At this time, the purplish warbler, Duanmu Xiaocha, and Zhao Qianru had also arrived beside the 9 dragon Scion Phoenix carriage. The 3 girls obviously saw through Yi Xian's thoughts and snorted. Seeing that he wanted to make up for it, they didn't say anything more and just stood beside the carriage. Yin Qi, Yin Ba, and Yin Jiao hurriedly came over with smiles on their faces and carefully served them. This was the prey that the ancestor had his eyes on. Moreover, from the ancestor's reaction, he seemed to be very nervous. They had to serve them carefully. Who knows, they might become their 3 ancestors in the future. If the 3 purplish warbler girls knew what they were thinking at this time, they would probably go crazy and kill them on the spot. With Yi Xian holding the fort, no matter how high the 3 old men's cultivation was, they definitely wouldn't dare to fight back. After entering the 9 dragons Scion Phoenix carriage, Yi Xian didn't dare to delay at all. He immediately entered the carriage's secret chamber. After activating the restriction, he immediately took out the 3 girls' armors from the undying world in his body, as well as 3 treasures for the second refinement. Then, he immediately ordered the devouring system to start the second refinement.
Although the 3 sets of armor were being refined at the same time, both the system and Yi Xian were far from what they were in the past.
They had grown too much, and the 3 sets of armor were only being refined for the second time, so it wasn't too complicated. Therefore, after the time it took to eat a meal, the refinement was completed. Yi Xian didn't stop. He took out the treasures for the 3rd refinement and immediately started the refinement again. This time, the refinement took slightly longer, but it only took about an hour before it ended. Fortunately, there weren't any accidents along the way. In less than 2 hours, the 3 armors were successfully refined for the 3rd time. They were completely different from before, dazzling and dazzling. This time, I can finally report back. Yi Xian raised his hand to wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. He heaved a long sigh of relief and stepped out of the 9 dragons Scion Phoenix carriage. When he turned around, he saw the 3 purplish warbler beauties with cold faces. He immediately put on a smile on his face. 3 beauties, I'm sorry. It's really too messy inside. It took a while to clean up, but there's no problem now. Please come in, come in. After he finished speaking, he turned around and scolded. What are you waiting for? This ancestor wants to entertain the human beauties. Why are you staying here and being an eyesore? Get out now, all of you. There were originally hundreds of beautiful Yin demon maids in the 9 dragons Scion Phoenix carriage. When they heard Yi Xian's scolding, they all immediately moved and walked out of the carriage. Then, Yi Xian led the 3 purplish warbler beauties into the Phoenix carriage. Old man Shen Yuan, family head Duanmu, and the person in charge of Bodhi biogenetics in the void in the distance beat their chests and stamped their feet, but they couldn't do anything. The fleets in the surrounding space didn't leave because it was meaningless.
Unless they retreated from the Nether Turtle Ocean, otherwise, no matter how far they fled, the Nether Turtle Ocean would be able to instantly annihilate them with a mere will projection of the primordial Nether Turtle. After all, the Nether Turtle Ocean was huge enough to cover the entire Nether Turtle Ocean. At the same time, inside the 9 dragons Scion Phoenix carriage,
After the hundreds of demon maids left, this was the world of Yixian and the purplish warbler beauties. As a primordial treasure, the 9 dragons cyan phoenix carriage didn't have any offensive abilities. All of its power was reflected in defense and extravagance. Therefore, even the most powerful beings in the universe couldn't spy on everything inside the phoenix carriage. This was something that all the major powers had tested before. The 3 purplish warbler beauties all knew this, so they immediately relaxed when the phoenix carriage's curtains fell. Little Xianxia, you're really something. The outside world thought you were exiled to the turbulent void. I didn't expect you to be living so comfortably. I haven't seen you for a few days, and you're actually an ancestor of a clan and hundreds of beautiful maids. Is this a money-squandering cave? Are you drunk and dreaming? So what? You don't even have the mood to care about our precious armor. Don't think we don't know that you were cramming for nearly 2 hours just now, right? Humph humph, you didn't take my important matter seriously. You decide how you want to settle this matter. As they spoke, the 3 beauties frowned and looked like they were about to rush out and expose Yi Xian's true identity and background. Yi Xian immediately panicked. He hurriedly waved his hand and took out the 3 female cultivators' precious armors that had just been refined for the 3rd time. In an instant, the 9 dragons' azure phoenix carriage was overflowing with precious light. The 3 precious armors floated in front of Yi Xian. It was too beautiful. The 3 beauties immediately cried out in surprise. Wow! Oh yeah! Heavens, heavens! Because they were too excited and their voices were too loud, Yi Xian didn't turn on the 9 dragons' azure phoenix carriage's restriction to silent mode. Therefore, the 3 beauties' cries accidentally spread out and were heard by the experts of the major powers in the surrounding void. Old Man Xianyuan, Clan Master Duanmu, and the person in charge of Bodhi biogenetics were immediately enraged. They even thought that the old pervert in the phoenix carriage had gone berserk and was forcing himself on them. They couldn't care less about anything else and rushed out with a roar. Old bastard, how dare you! Wow, you're too shameless. Chapter 34-38. Suspicion creeps in. Oh no, we seem to have screamed too coquettishly. The people outside seem to have misunderstood. Aya, you damned girl, what do you mean we screamed too coquettishly? You're going to be the death of me. It's all this guy's fault. He made our armor so beautiful and mighty. The sisters couldn't help themselves. Shenyuan Ziying, Duanmu Xiaocha, and Zhao Qianru all cried out in alarm when they heard the angry roars of old man Shenyuan and clan master Duanmu. Duanmu Xiaocha, who had always been a loose talker, suddenly blurted out a coquettish word. Shenyuan Ziying and Zhao Qianru immediately blushed and chased after her to beat her up. For a moment, the 9 dragons' azure phoenix carriage was filled with boundless spring breeze. The 3 peerless beauties were far more charming than the 100 demon clan maids from before, causing Yi Xian to be stunned. Fortunately, the 3 girls knew their limits and knew that now was not the time to make a fuss. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if old man Shenyuan and the rest were to fight with Yin Qi and the others outside. They didn't even have the time to carefully appraise the armor that had just been refined for the 3rd time. After hurriedly handing over the treasures for the 4th time to Yi Xian, they reluctantly walked out of the 9 dragons' azure luan carriage. Before the 3 girls lifted the curtain, Yi Xian had already kept the 3 armor and the treasures that had been refined for the 4th time into his undying world. Then he regained his composure and followed the 3 purplish warbler girls out of the 9 dragons' azure phoenix carriage with his hands behind his back. Although the 3 of you are fair and clean, you're still too noisy. You don't even have a lump in your throat. This ancestor really doesn't like it. Quickly leave, otherwise don't blame this ancestor for slapping you to death. As soon as they exited the 9 dragons' azure phoenix carriage, Yi Xian's expression darkened. He looked at the 3 purplish warbler girls who had grievances written all over their faces and sternly scolded. Humph! You wasted 3 cups of this ancestor's spirit wine for nothing. At this moment, old man Shenyuan, Patriarch Duanmu, and the person in charge of Bodhi biogenetics were right in front of the 9 dragons' azure phoenix carriage. When they saw the 3 ladies of the purplish warbler, who were completely unscathed, and their dresses and hairpins were not messed up at all, coupled with Yi Xian's words, they immediately understood what was going on. They stared at him as if they had just seen a ghost, completely speechless. After messing around for so long, this old man was actually a serious homosexual. 3 such delicate beauties delivered themselves to his door, but because they didn't have an Adam's apple, they were actually chased out. What the F***ck? Old man Shenyuan and the other 2 didn't dare to say anything on the surface.
They hurriedly dragged the 3 ladies of the purplish warbler, who were still praising the ancestor spirit wine, and hurriedly returned to their respective space fortresses.
Next, they would definitely send someone to ground the 3 girls. They were really troublesome and had such big guts that it made people's hair stand on end. They had to be on guard.
In the surrounding void, in the fleets of the top forces from the 3 dimensions of the universe, countless starry sky masters had extremely strange expressions on their faces.
This ancestor of the Een demon clan was so strange that they were completely speechless.
As for the imperial crown prince, Long Xiang, he had already fled to a small fortress of the immortal army with his tail between his legs.
He definitely wouldn't dare to show his face for a while. If that old monster were to take a fancy to him again, he would really die. Yi Xian didn't plan to torment that guy anymore. It was more important to get down to business first. As the 3 ladies of the purplish warbler, Duanmu Xiaocha, and Zhao Qianru were dragged away by their respective elders, his expression completely darkened. He turned around and scanned the fleets in the surrounding void.
When he saw that no one had taken the opportunity to escape when he was refining the 3 ladies' armor, his expression eased a little. Then he said in a muffled voice, "Very good.
It seems that you all still trust this ancestor. In that case, the protection fee I mentioned earlier will be waived. However, this is after all my territory. If you want to search for treasures here, you should at least show some appreciation, right? This ancestor won't set any standards. All of you, prepare your own gifts and present them to me. As long as they are acceptable, this ancestor won't care too much. Otherwise, if anyone wants to treat this ancestor like a beggar and treat me like one, the consequences will be, humph, humph. You'll have to think about it yourselves." At this, the experts in the surrounding void heaved a sigh of relief. Then they looked gratefully at the 3 bastions of the Shenyuan family, the Duanmu family, and Bodhi Biogenetics. Their eyes were full of gratitude. This old monster was obviously disgusted by the 3 girls just now, which affected his mood. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so easy to talk to. Since Yi Xian had lowered his standards, or perhaps it could be said that he didn't set any standards at all, the leaders in the surrounding void were all excited. This old monster was temperamental. On one hand, he was doing extremely shameless things. On the other hand, he could shamelessly say that he would win people over by virtue. It was rare that he had loosened up, so they had to take advantage of this opportunity to get this matter done quickly. Otherwise, who knew when he would suddenly change his mind? At that time it would be troublesome. Although it was somewhat uncomfortable to hand over some resources and treasures for no reason, who asked the primordial treasure, the Silk of Desire, to appear in this dark turtle sea? At present, this starfield was almost completely under the control of old monster Huan Tan. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, they had no choice but to pay to avoid disaster. After all, the Silk of Desire was not an ordinary primordial treasure. Not only was it impervious to water and fire, the beautiful women embroidered on both sides of it were also ancient existences whose spiritual sense had been absorbed by the treasure. It was one of the 9 great evil treasures of the primordial era. It was said that after refining this treasure, there would be a chance to reforge the soul of the primordial demon, who was sealed inside the silk until only a trace of spiritual sense was left, and reappear in the human world as a slave or servant, at the disposal of the master. None of the major powers were unmoved by such a precious treasure. The scale of the fleets of the major powers that had entered the Dark Turtle Sea was so large that it far exceeded the scale of young Master Ling Hu's sudden appearance in the heavenly battle starfield. Therefore, for this treasure, it was acceptable for the major powers to pay some dispensable treasures and resources. As long as they didn't act like the Chenkuan elder of the battle lion race, they would be fine. With this thought in mind, almost all the major powers of the 3 universes in the surrounding void began to move. Holding the idea of paying to avoid disaster, they all prepared some treasures and resources, put them in a small space box, and sent people to deliver them to the corner of the void occupied by the Een demon race. For Een Qi, Een Ba, and Een Jiao, they had never been so glorious in their lives. Almost all the major powers of the 3 universes had arrived. They were holding space boxes filled with all kinds of treasures and resources, waiting in line for the 3 of them to register. Chapter 34-39. Exposed, at least 60%. A light flashed in Zhan Tu's eyes as he sneered. Previously, this old man felt that this matter was a little strange. That Ling Huchong was clearly moved to the 2nd universe, but the 2 of us couldn't find any trace of him. However, this Een demon clan suddenly appeared at this time,
and a desolate ancient ancestor's behavior is quite similar to Ling Hucheng's. Yes, this old man has been suspicious about this for a long time. On the side, the eyebrowless old man also sneered, his eyes sweeping in the direction of Yi Xian from time to time, especially the three women of the Xianyuan family. If this old man remembers correctly, the three women of the Xianyuan family were specially taken care of by Ling Hucheng in the Medicine King's giant cauldron in the Heaven Battle Starfield. Ha ha ha! Hearing the eyebrowless old man mention this matter, Xianxia grinned again. Speaking of which, this is a pleasant surprise.
Before this old man had never suspected these three girls, but this time is different. Everything in the world can't be so coincidental. These three women have been strangely ambiguous with Ling Hucheng many times. This matter is thought-provoking. Perhaps they really know some secrets about this boy, such as his true origin. However, this matter is not urgent. The three women of the Xianyuan family are there anyway, and we can make a move at any time. Everything should wait until we join forces to capture this Ling Hucheng.
Yes. The eyebrowless old man nodded, but suddenly frowned and said worriedly, however, it would be fine if it was elsewhere, but now that we are in the Dark Turtle Sea, I don't know how that Ling Hucheng did it, but he actually swindled the immemorial Dark Turtle life armor from the Dark Turtle old ancestor. Now that this entire starfield is under his control, the two of us have no chance or possibility to make a move.
This matter is really a headache. It doesn't matter. Xianxia waved his hand and said with certainty, don't be fooled by this boy's words. Since he came to the Dark Turtle Sea, his purpose must be the desolate ancient treasure, Yan Luo. Moreover, according to this old man's speculation, the Yin demon clan was most likely fooled by him. This boy definitely has nothing to do with the Netherworld young master. It's not like we haven't seen his means before, so he must have obtained the Netherworld clan's bloodline divine ability from somewhere.
If that's the case, his value will be even greater.
This is a good thing for both of us. This time, he's in the Nether Turtle Sea, and if nothing unexpected happens, then the primordial treasure Misty Net will probably fall into the hands of that bastard.
But for the two of us, this is good news.
This boy thinks that no one knows his true identity. Moreover, his current identity as the Netherworld young master has offended too many forces. At the very least, the Battle Lion clan, which is ranked third among the various clans in the second universe, will absolutely not let him go. They will definitely wait for him outside the Dark Turtle Sea. So after obtaining the Yan Luo, this boy will definitely abandon his identity as the Netherworld young master. At that time, there might be chaos, and he wants to take advantage of the chaos to escape the Dark Turtle Starfield with another identity.
You mean to say, the eyebrowless ancestor continued and probed, we'll secretly help him safely escape the Dark Turtle Starfield, and then we'll make a move outside the Dark Turtle Starfield and capture him.
Exactly.
Xianxia nodded and laughed fiercely. Once he leaves the Dark Turtle Starfield, the life armor in his possession is useless. Although this boy has other treasures in his possession, such as the Medicine King's ancient cauldron, he was in the dark before this, so he was prepared.
But it's different this time. I'm in the dark while he's in the light. At that time, we'll suddenly make a move, and this boy might not have the time to withdraw other treasures when he's caught off guard. So, we'll definitely be able to capture him. So not only do we have to help him successfully escape the Dark Turtle Starfield after this, we'll secretly follow him and wait for an opportunity to make a move. Moreover, we even have to try our best to cooperate with him and seize the Yan Luo. After all, every time this kid obtains a precious treasure, our gains will be even greater after it falls into our hands. Ha ha ha. As they finished speaking, the two old fellows looked at each other and laughed. They were extremely certain that Yi Xian was a bird in a cage, and they firmly believed that it would be impossible for him to escape. Ancestor, all the protection fees are here. Please take a look at the list.
After some trouble, all the small spatial boxes sent over by the various forces in the surroundings had been recorded.
Moreover, Bar and the others even made a list and passed it to Yi Xian. With a wave of his hand, Yi Xian placed all the small spatial boxes into the undying world within his body. At the same time, his divine sense invaded all the small spatial boxes to check the treasures and resources contained within them. If there were treasures whose quantity and quality were truly unacceptable, then he naturally wouldn't let them go. He would definitely take the lead and punish them properly. However, these fellows were rather conscientious. After Yi Xian checked all the small spatial boxes, even though the treasures and resources contained within them varied in quantity, they were basically passable.
Since it was like that, then there was no need to continue entangling himself with these fellows. In Yi Xian's opinion, the most important matter in the Dark Turtle Starfield now was to obtain the primordial precious treasure, the Yen Luo, that was about to appear. Previously, he didn't know the use of the ancient tortoise shell in his hand, so he had no choice but to wait for the precious treasure to appear before making a move to fight for it. However, it was different now. Since the ancient tortoise shell was the life armor of the primordial nether tortoise, and after the latter's main body collapsed at the beginning of the primordial era, it actually left behind a strand of obsession to protect the Dark Turtle Starfield and become the Starfield consciousness of the Dark Turtle Starfield. Then, through the projection of the primordial nether tortoise's will, Yi Xian might be able to find out the location of the primordial precious treasure, the Yen Luo, in advance. Even if it was just a rough location and region, it was of great significance. At present, the other matters had basically come to an end. Even the Battle Lion clan, although they had suffered such a huge loss and would definitely not let this matter rest, they would at most wait outside the Dark Turtle Starfield and absolutely wouldn't dare to rashly enter this place to cause trouble. Yi Xian could completely calm down and explore the location of the primordial precious treasure, the Yen Luo, and then secretly rush over and make preparations in advance. Thinking of this, he didn't hesitate and immediately took out the ancient tortoise shell that he had kept in the undying world in his body. In the next moment, just as Yi Xian was about to inject a strand of vitality into it to summon the projection of the primordial nether tortoise's will and secretly inquire about the location of the Yen Luo, a strange change suddenly occurred at this moment. Boom! A loud explosion suddenly rang out from an extremely distant star field in the northern region of the Nether Turtle Sea. Immediately after, a pale pink pillar of light soared into the sky, illuminating more than half of the Dark Turtle Starfield. With the appearance of this pink pillar of light, the soft laughter of several women could be heard clearly. Hee hee.
Chapter 3440. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Rising into the sky, Yuyen's silk as the pink beam of light soared into the sky, a woman's giggle could be heard. The masters of the universe from the three planes of the universe were stunned. Then they cried out in surprise. Treasure light is rising into the sky. This is the sign of the birth of a great treasure.
Yuyen's silk, it must be Yuyen's silk.
It's absolutely right. It is said that there are some beautiful women embroidered on both sides of the silk. They are all existences at the level of Desolation era whose spiritual sense has been absorbed. After refining this treasure, there will be a chance to mold the souls of the Desolation era demons sealed in the silk, leaving only a trace of spiritual sense. Then, they will reappear in the world and be ready to be ordered. Now that the women are laughing, it must be related to the female cultivators sealed in this treasure. Oh my God! Could it be that those beautiful female cultivators sealed in this treasure have been awakened with the birth of this treasure? If so, who can take this treasure? They are existences from the Desolation era. Even if only a trace of spiritual sense is sealed in this treasure, it will be difficult to suppress them.
Things are getting serious. No matter what, I have to get this treasure first.
Those beautiful female cultivators all have a trace of their spiritual sense sealed in this treasure, so they can't leave. Even if I can't refine it, as long as I get this treasure, I'll still have a chance in the future. Rumble! Boom! Along with these exclamations, the large and small battleships in the fleet all moved. With a rumbling sound, they rushed in the direction of the pink light column. In addition, Zhan Tu, the ancestor without eyebrows, Long Ziwen, and other powerful figures of the universe also jumped up and crossed the void with their physical bodies. Their speed was not slower than those small fortresses with a diameter of 50,000 meters, or even faster. In the blink of an eye, they had disappeared in the gray void ahead. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the battleships in the surrounding void had left. Those that were still in sight were some planet-level battleships with a length of 1,000 meters, or some stellar-level battleships with a length of 3,000 meters. Apart from that, there was the camp formed by more than 10,000 members of the Yin Demon clan. Because of the 9 Dragon Cyan Phoenix carriage, and because Yin Qi and the other two thought that Ancestor Huan liked to show off, the Yin Demon clan did not bring any battleships with them. This huge group of people had traveled all the way from the Dark Nest Starfield. Although their momentum was indeed extraordinary and extremely eye-catching, at this moment, the drawbacks were also showing. They were lagging behind the other major forces. After all, most of the Yin demons were weaker than the Black Hole Realm. At this moment, they were all gathered around the 9 Dragons Azure Phoenix carriage. How fast could they be? Get on the ship! Get on the ship! Get on the ship now!
Yi Xian waved his hand and summoned the Black Lion Star Fortress that he had extorted from the Warrior Lion clan and Qianquan clan not long ago.
At the same time, he jumped and roared.
With another wave of his hand, the 9-dragon Scion Phoenix carriage was stored in his undying world.
Actually, he could have traversed the void by himself. However, on one hand, it was because he couldn't use the void shuttle.
With Yi Xian's cultivation, which was only at the 5th level of the Heavenly Passage realm, the speed at which his physical body traversed the void was far inferior to that of the Starry Sky Fortress.
On the other hand, the Yin Demon clan members were still very useful. After obtaining the Yen Luo, Yi Xian still had to rely on them to attract attention. Then, he could take the opportunity to change his identity and slip away. Therefore, no matter how burdensome the Yin Demon clan members were, Yi Xian had to bring them along. Soon, the 10,000 or so Yin Demon clansmen entered the Black Lion Starry Sky Fortress under the lead of Yin Qi and the other 2 elders. They immediately rushed to their respective posts in the fortress. Soon, the Black Lion Star Fortress started a space jump under the control of the Yin Demon clan members according to Yi Xian's command. Its target was the pink light pillar that shot into the sky. Rumble. After a short while, the Black Lion Star Fortress arrived first. After a space jump, it traversed thousands of miles and arrived at the area where the pink light pillar shot into the sky.
In the surrounding void, only a few star fortresses with a diameter of 100,000 meters could be seen from afar.
They were stationed in different positions and surrounded the pink light pillar. They maintained a distance of about 10,000 miles. In addition, Zhan Tu, Ancestor Wu Mei, and the other universe realm experts could be seen clearly as they stood in the void. As for those small fortresses and large fortresses, they were on their way here and soon arrived as well. The fleets of more than 100 top-class forces from the 3 universes surrounded the entire void space. They kept a safe distance of about 10,000 miles, surrounding the pink light pillar that was soaring into the sky. The reason why all the forces didn't start fighting immediately upon arrival was because they were afraid of each other and restricted each other. On the other hand, the scene in the pink light pillar was too weird. The diameter of the light pillar was about 100 miles. Its height was impossible to estimate. In short, it shot into the sky and pierced a huge hole in the horizon. And in the central region of this incomparably thick pink light pillar, a pink silk spread open, and on it, a gorgeous figure appeared, singing and dancing. It was a woman. She was extremely beautiful. Her skin was as white as jade. She was wearing a fiery armor, but a large part of her snow-white skin was exposed. Her heroic spirit was impressive, but at the same time, she gave off a gorgeous aura. What was even weirder was that while the woman was singing and dancing, there was a canopy of flames around her body. It was black with a hint of red. It was clearly corpse fire. Seeing this, the faces of the universe realm experts around the void were gloomy. Some of them even cried out in alarm. Gorgeous corpse drought demon? This is one of the 4 ancestors of corpse doctrine in the remote antiquity era. I didn't expect that a wisp of origin sense would be sealed in this treasure. What's worse is that the corpse ancestor drought demon has clearly awakened. It seems that it will be born together with the Yen Luo. How can it be broken? Hearing this, the surrounding void was suddenly filled with exclamations. Many experts were shocked, including Yi Xian. No one expected that such a great expert from the remote antiquity era would be sealed in this treasure. Drought demon was tormented, and it was burning. Yi Xian had some understanding of zombies before. There were basically 5 types of zombies. The first type was white zombies. After the corpse entered the corpse cultivation ground, it began to grow white hair all over its body. The second type was black zombies. If the white zombies were full of blood essence, they would shed their white hair in the future and be replaced by black hair that was a few inches long, as hard as steel nails. The third type was jumping corpse. The black zombies would absorb Yin blood for a period of time and shed their black hair. They would mainly move by jumping, and their jumping steps would be faster and farther. The fourth type was flying zombies. They evolved from jumping corpse to absorb Yin moonlight. Flying zombies were usually zombies that were more than 1,000 years old. They were agile and could jump up trees and houses as if they were flying. They could absorb soul essence without leaving any external wounds. Chapter 3441. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Colorful corpse Hitorigami zombies were different from zombies in the universe. They were more dangerous and were regarded as the most evil creatures. They were not tolerated by the various races in the universe. Among the 5 forms of zombies, white zombies and black zombies were generally dormant in the corpse nurturing ground. Because they did not cause chaos in the world, they could temporarily linger on. However, once they reached the 3rd form of the jumping corpse, the growth of zombies required more blood essence. They had no choice but to leave the corpse nurturing ground and begin to cause chaos in the world. Zombies at this stage would basically be slaughtered. There were very few zombies that could grow into the 4th form of the flying corpse. This was because every flying corpse required at least thousands of years of blood essence to nurture. 3rd form jumping corpses were usually killed before they could grow to this extent. Since ancient times, there were almost no zombie cultivators that could grow into the zombie demon, which was the Hitorigami realm. There was only one in the desolate antiquity era. Because of its uniqueness, the original name of this female zombie had long been forgotten. No one mentioned it again. Instead, it was called the Hitorigami, the 5th form of the zombie. Since it was a zombie demon, its power was naturally extraordinary. Even if it did not reach the level of the supreme desolate antiquity like the golden divine dragon and the void giant turtle, it should be the strongest under the supreme desolate antiquity. It should belong to the same level of existence as the void ladle. However, it was only a wisp of Hitorigami's spiritual sense that was sealed in this treasure. Its original body might have long been destroyed in the distant desolate antiquity era. Although this wisp of Hitorigami's spiritual sense was not too terrifying, it had the cultivation of the 15th realm of the universe realm. A wisp of spiritual sense was already a mighty figure of the universe realm. It was enough to show how powerful the Hitorigami zombie demon in the desolate antiquity era was. However, all of this had nothing to do with the powerhouses of the major forces who were guarding the surrounding void. Now, it was just Hitorigami's spiritual sense that gave them a headache. There must be more than one wisp of the spiritual senses of the beautiful cultivators of the remote antiquity sealed in the Yanluo. The others were still in deep sleep. But now, the corpse ancestor Hanba had awakened. He had the cultivation of the 15th realm of the universe. Thus, it brought endless obstacles and variables to refine this treasure net. Not to mention refining Bao Luo. From the looks of it, just collecting Bao Luo would be extremely difficult. In the pink light beam, the internal field of the Yanluo had been activated because of the awakening of the corpse ancestor Hanba's wisp of spiritual sense. Presently, the misty net was over 300 meters wide, and it was like an enormous pink carpet that undulated with ripples. On this carpet, the corpse ancestor and Hitorigami were singing and dancing. This scene was so strange that it left everyone speechless. In this state, who would dare enter the pink pillar of light and obtain the treasure? In that case, he would definitely be attacked by the corpse ancestor, Hitorigami, without a doubt. Therefore, after the initial shock and exclamations, the countless experts in the starry sky soon fell into a dead silence. Even Long Ziwen, Zhan Tu, Ancestor Wu Mei, and nearly 10 other powerful figures of the universe were frowning. They fell into deep thought. Obviously, they were thinking of countermeasures to break this zombie. Yi Xian also fell into deep thought. Facing a body of primordial spirit sense of the universe realm, he also had a headache. He couldn't use force to suppress it. Perhaps, the will projection of the primordial dark tortoise can help. After thinking hard for a while, Yi Xian's eyes suddenly flashed. He then waved his hand and took out the ancient tortoise shell that he kept in his undying world. The will projection of the primordial dark tortoise controlled the entire dark tortoise star field. Although the corpse ancestor and Hitorigami were powerful figures of the universe, under the control of the will of the primordial dark tortoise, they were destined to be suppressed. At this time, as Yi Xian took out the ancient tortoise shell from his undying world, the experts of the major forces in the surrounding void all gathered their gazes with vigilance. Obviously, these people understood the terror of the primordial dark tortoise's will projection. If Yi Xian wanted to make a move, they wouldn't have the slightest chance. The Yanluo would definitely be taken away by Yi Xian, and they wouldn't even have the chance to stop him or snatch it. Otherwise, they would be crushed by the will projection of the primordial dark tortoise controlled by Yi Xian. Zhan Tu and Ancestor Wu Mei exchanged glances across the void. This was exactly what they wanted to see. Once Yi Xian succeeded, they would secretly add fuel to the fire. No matter what, they had to create chaos so that Yi Xian could take the opportunity to change his identity and escape. The two of them would secretly follow behind and wait for an opportunity to capture him after he left the Dark Tortoise Sea star field. However, the other forces obviously wouldn't give up so easily. The voices of the leaders of some forces could be heard from some small fortresses. Young Master Netherworld, didn't you say that you wouldn't fight with us for the Yanluo? You're the Emperor's son of the Netherworld Great Emperor, but you actually went back on your words. Relying on that piece of life armor in your hand, are you planning to eat all over the world? That's right. You change your words in the morning. Your table manners are too ugly. How despicable. To think that we've expressed our intentions before. Whether it's protection fees or deliberate extortion, young Master Netherworld, you've already benefited a lot. Even if you want to fight with us for the Yanluo, at least you shouldn't use the power of the primordial dark tortoise's will projection, right? That's a little too shameless. Among them, even the imperial family's elder Long Ziwen couldn't help but warn Yi Xian with a dark face. Although the Dark Tortoise clan is strong, it's only one of the clans in the Second Universe's federation. Although the Dark Tortoise Sea is vast, it's only a corner of the Second Universe. Young friend, you came from the primordial age, so you shouldn't be willing to cower in this corner of the Second Universe, right? Everyone present is from the top forces of the three universes. Don't go too far. Don't go too far. Don't go too far. Although these words were said tactfully, the warning and threat were extremely obvious. Yi Xian immediately sneered. He rolled his eyes and directly replied without any trace of politeness. F***ck your mother. Damn old man, how do I behave? When did I need you to tell me what to do? If you continue to complain, do you believe that I will immediately suppress you? You. Long Ziwen was so angry that his face turned red. He raised his hand and pointed at Yi Xian, but he didn't dare to be tough anymore. He finally understood that this guy was not only shameless, but also a troublemaker. He wouldn't listen to any good words. He was too rampant. Yi Xian coldly snorted when he saw that the other party had finally stopped talking. He didn't continue to speak ill of him. His right finger slightly moved, and he immediately channeled a strand of vital energy into the life armor in his hand. Rumble! In the next moment, thunder rumbled in the sky. The huge will projection of the primordial dark tortoise that had appeared once before appeared in the sky above the Dark Tortoise Sea without any suspense. Chapter 3442. Translator, Transin Editor. Transin Damned Primordial Turtle. As Yi Xian took out the ancient tortoise shell again and injected a wisp of vitality into it, he summoned the will projection of the primordial nether tortoise and immediately extended his divine sense to communicate with it. Very quickly, a heavy voice that exuded a strong sense of vicissitude suddenly appeared in his mind. The birth of the net of smoke, the end of the mission, the dissipation of the nether turtle, the ancient times return to ruins. Rumble. Boom. Before Yi Xian could react, the huge projection of the ancient nether turtles that covered the entire nether turtle starfield suddenly trembled and began to dissipate at a speed visible to the naked eye. This scene was so unexpected that Yi Xian was dumbfounded on the spot. In the surrounding void space, the countless starry sky masters in the fleets of the top forces from the three universes looked up at the sky in horror. Then, they subconsciously turned to look at Yi Xian. At this moment, he was standing above the Black Lion starry sky fortress that he had extorted from the Battle Lion tribe. He held the ancient tortoise shell in his hand and raised it high above his head. His posture was extremely showy, but the expression on his face was sluggish. Yi Xian's entire body trembled as he recalled the words that had just sounded out in his mind. His entire body felt unwell. Obviously, the reason why the will projection of the primordial underworld tortoise had been dormant since the beginning of ancient times until now was to wait for the appearance of Yanluo. Yet now, this treasure had officially emerged into the world, and the primeval nether turtle's mission had been completed, so it was about to disperse. Although Yi Xian did not know the meaning of this mission or who gave it to the will projection of the primordial abyss tortoise, there was one thing without a doubt. Once the truth was exposed, he would be in an extremely dangerous situation. Yi Xian was clearly aware of how ferocious and shameless he was before this. Presently, he was absolutely surrounded by enemies in the Nether Turtle Sea, and everyone wished for nothing more than to crush him. A mistake. It's definitely a mistake. Thinking of this, Yi Xian shuddered again. Facing the suspicious gazes cast at him from all directions, he hurriedly covered it up. It must be the wrong way to open it. This ancestor was a little impatient. I'll try again later. Let the old bastard rest first. Gotcha! Before Yi Xian could finish speaking, he raised his right hand high above his head. Suddenly, the sound of something shattering came from the palm of his right hand. At this moment, Yi Xian's body stiffened. His face turned green as he mechanically turned his head to look. Soon after, his entire face drooped. It was so black that it could compete with the bottom of the pot. Broken. The ancient tortoiseshell. Although, it was the turtle tortoiseshell tortoisesich, turtle was Lucas of Amon. However, from another perspective, this armor was of great significance to the current Yixian. It was like a protective talisman.
Even if the projection of the primordial nether turtle's will in the sky dissipated, as long as the life armor was still in his hand, then the experts from the various top forces who were eyeing him covetously in the void would not dare to do anything extreme to him out of fear. Even though the previous scene of the nether turtle's will projection dissipating had indeed aroused their suspicions, these fellows did not dare to rashly probe. After all, if his guess was wrong, Yixian would be very likely to find a few unlucky people and punish them as an example to others. Yixian was also well aware of this. That was why when the projection of the abyss tortoise's will in the sky above his head dissipated, he didn't panic and even tried to cover it up with words. But now, as the life armor of the abyss tortoise between his fingers was broken, everything was different. If it was broken in private, it would be fine. But now, he was in the limelight, and the life armor was held in his right hand and held high above his head.
Even a green-eyed person would have seen the scene of the life armor shattering clearly. Now that the life armor was gone, how could he summon the projection of the abyss tortoise's will? This was clearly a sign that something big was going to happen. If nothing unexpected happened, then with the disappearance of Yixian's protective talisman, the experts from the various powers that were eyeing them covetously in the air would definitely avenge their grievances and take revenge on their enemies. Yin Qi and the others in the Black Lion's Starry Sky Fortress understood all of this. At this moment, this group of old bastards were all dumbfounded.
In the surrounding void, the experts from the various top forces from the 3 dimensions of the universe were initially stunned, then shocked and then ecstatic.
Some of them even began to laugh hideously. This kind of accident was so shocking that no one had expected it. But when they realized what had happened, their thoughts immediately changed because of this. They were afraid that the Yen Luo would not be able to be collected for the time being. With so many experts around, they were not afraid that it would fly away. They could only wait and see. On the other hand, Ancestor Huan Ting of the Yin Demon Clan could take advantage of this opportunity to take revenge.
After all, they had nothing to do.
Even Zhan Tu and the eyeless ancestor were frowning at this moment. Their eyes flashed with hesitation as they considered whether they should change their previous plan and immediately take action to suppress Yixian and take him away first. After all, although the Yen Luo was a primordial treasure, it was an extraordinary primordial treasure. This could be seen from the fact that the primordial corpse ancestor, Hanba, had awakened along with it and seemed to want to come into being together with it. Just the spiritual sense origin of the remote antiquity alluring cultivator sealed in it was already in existence at the 15th realm of the universe, let alone the other remote antiquity alluring cultivators sealed in it. Once this treasure was refined, it was tantamount to fully controlling several remote antiquity alluring cultivators. This was definitely a supreme treasure. After refining it, the remote antiquity alluring cultivators would be fully awakened. When that time came, several remote antiquity alluring cultivators could crush the enemy at the same time. Was there anything more satisfying than this? In addition, it was said that the one sealed inside was a beautiful cultivator from the desolate era. For a male cultivator, this was not only a weapon for attack, but also a treasure for sex. In private, when no one was around, they could use this treasure to summon the sealed beautiful cultivator to serve them. What kind of enjoyment would that be? Even Zhan Tu, Ancestor Wu Mei, and other remote antiquity alluring cultivators could not ignore this treasure. They all coveted it. Because of this, even though young Master Ling Hu represented a great fortune, the 3 absolutes of medicine, tool, and formation, in addition to the mechanical battlebug technology, and the primordial treasure, the Medicine King Cauldron. After hesitating for a while, Zhan Tu and the eyebrowless ancestor finally gave up on the idea of immediately attacking. Although young Master Ling Hu was important, they did not want to give up on the Yen Luo. They wanted to have it all. At this time, Yixian finally could not bear the increasingly hostile gazes around him. After secretly gritting his teeth, he made up his mind and immediately shouted with a sullen face. What? Is this the start of a rebellion? Chapter 34-43. The arrival of old enemies. Come on. Try standing out and I'll crush all of you on the spot. When facing the experts of the 3 universes that were glaring covetously at him and revealed hostile expressions, Yixian braced himself and shouted,
and he seemed to be fearless on the surface.
So what if the lousy tortoiseshell is shattered? Don't forget where we are. Don't forget who gave that lousy tortoiseshell to this ancestor. Humph, humph. If you have the ability, then send a few almighty figures. In any case, this ancestor's sworn brother, the Nether Turtle ancestor, is a supreme almighty figure that has surpassed the universe realm. Do you dare bully this ancestor in his territory? All of you can give it a try. When they heard this, the experts of the various powers in the surroundings were instantly stunned, and they revealed hesitant expressions once more. They'd almost forgotten this. Besides the will projection of the primeval Nether Turtle, the entire Nether Turtle clan stood behind this damnable Nether Turtle young master, and any random elder from this clan was already in existence at the advanced stage of the 15th Great Realm, the Universe Realm. The Patriarch's cultivation had even surpassed the Universe Realm, so the turtle ancestor of the clan was obviously even more formidable. The turtle ancestor had once invited the young master of the Netherworld and even gave him his ancient tortoiseshell, so how could their relationship be ordinary? This was still the Nether Turtle stellar region, and with the Nether Turtle clan here, this shameful young master of the Netherworld was still in existence that could do as he pleased, and no one dared to offend him. When they realized this, even though the experts of the various powers in the surroundings were greatly disappointed, at least this damnable fellow was unable to utilize the will of the Nether Turtle to fight for the primordial treasure, the mist net of desire, with them. This matter could be considered as a form of consolation. When they thought like this, the experts of the various powers instantly grunted coldly, and they unwillingly withdrew their thoughts of causing trouble for Xianxia. All enmity could wait until they left the Nether Turtle Ocean because the young master of the Netherworld would be able to leave this place one day. Xianxia heaved a sigh of relief in his heart and didn't dare continue making noise so as to avoid provoking a rash fellow to go head-on against him. At that time, he would be completely exposed. Then, he frowned and fell into deep thought again. The current situation was very unfavorable to him. Although the experts of the major forces in the surrounding void did not immediately launch an attack, for Xianxia, the Desolation Silk Net was a must-have item. Now that he had lost the help of the will projection of the primordial turtle, it instantly became very difficult to complete this task. Xianxia had offended all of them with his own strength. He was in existence at the level of a rat crossing the street. Under such circumstances, it was almost impossible for him to obtain the primordial treasure, Yen Luo. Clang! Just as Xianxia was frowning in deep thought, the melodious sound of a zither suddenly came from a certain direction in the distance, bringing with it a sharp and austere aura. Although the sound was not loud, it actually caused Xianxia's heartstrings to tremble. His heart skipped a beat, and he immediately looked in the direction of the sound. At the same time, the experts of the major forces in the surrounding void, who were thousands of miles away, all turned their heads and looked in the direction of the sound of the zither. A slender and beautiful figure was stepping on the void, crossing over from the end of their line of sight. She wore a black dress and had snow-white hair. It was Zhao Lingyang. She was one of the 4 peerless prodigies of the human race. Her cultivation was at the 9th stage of the mystic light realm, the successor of the undying dark phoenix, the palace master of the parting hatred palace, and the owner of the primordial treasure, the zither of hatred. She was also the daughter of the palace master of the 6th palace, Xianxia, and the woman who had almost become Xianxia's wife. Of course, Xianxia was forced to marry her, but this matter was announced to the world by Xianxia at that time. Therefore, in the eyes of the world, Zhao Lingyang had indeed almost become Xianxia's wife, and the reason why she fell into the demonic dust was because of her love for Xianxia that turned into hatred. It could be said that the depth of love and the intensity of hatred destined one's life. At this moment, Zhao Lingyang's face was covered by a black veil, but Xianxia still recognized her at a glance. In fact, the experts of the major forces in the surrounding void did the same. Although they could not see her face, the black dress, snow-white hair, and the demonic zither on her shoulder were all Zhao Lingyang's trademark. No, she could no longer be called Zhao Lingyang anymore. She was now the demonic dust woman. And the sound that was filled with killing intent came from the beautiful and ancient jade zither on her shoulder. The demonic dust woman fell into the demonic dust and was unrestrained. Although she used the zither as her weapon, she did not have the gentle aura of a woman. Even the zither on her shoulder was majestic and majestic. The name of this zither was Hateful End. Its sound could manipulate people's hearts and control their emotions. It could create endless illusions on the spiritual level. In the cultivation camp, it was already a famous killing weapon. Its grade was a primordial treasure, And its origin was even more extraordinary. It was rumored that it originated from the primordial era. It was refined by a powerful creature from the primordial era using the 9 heavens spiritual jade and the silk of the heavenly demonic silkworm. Even the entire body of the zither was actually carved from a piece of fallen phoenix tree that came from the 9 netherworld prison. Of course, the phoenix that resided on this piece of fallen phoenix tree was not an ordinary phoenix, but the 9 netherworld prison's undying phoenix. Although the main material came from the 9 netherworld prison, its surface glowed with a gentle white light. Its sound could make people feel peaceful, and it had the mysterious power to control the souls of all living things. It was originally a mascot. Unfortunately, the person who refined this zither was bewitched by the heavenly demon in his heart and fell into the demonic path. He called himself the Zither Demon, and this was how the name Hateful End came about. With this zither, the demonic dust woman became famous in a single battle and became one of the 4 peerless geniuses of the human race. She once sat cross-legged in the void, took out the zither of Hateful End, and played it with her knees crossed. The dozens of starry sky masters around then encountered a nightmarish scene. They were all suppressed by the demonic sound of the zither in an instant. Some of them were not injured and soon woke up quietly, as if they had just walked around the 9 netherworld prison. Their whole body was weak, and their mind was injured. The rest of the people were in a terrible state. They were injured to varying degrees, and many of them were seriously injured. There were even a few people who died directly. Under the terrifying illusions of the demonic zither that were manifested in their souls, their divine souls were directly destroyed. This was definitely a powerful and unpredictable killing weapon. Now, the demonic dust woman came with the Hateful End. Her purpose was undoubtedly to fight for the primordial treasure, Yen Luo. After realizing this, the starry sky masters of the major forces in the void suddenly frowned, and their hearts sank. Yi Xian immediately felt his scalp tighten. Although he did not feel guilty about this woman, because Yi Xian was the real victim of everything that happened before. If he was not strong enough, he would have been humiliated at that time. However, this woman's fall into the demonic dust was ultimately related to him. Yi Xian felt a little guilty. This was the rhythm of an old enemy. It was also at this moment that an even more unexpected accident happened.